Can I stop you there though?
Yeah.
Because are FaZe even an org? Aren't they just a frat house with lots of money?
I mean,
that's how we've been viewing them. Yes.
Right. No, but really, like.
Add some fun to your space with Xtrfy, designed in Sweden with focus on quality products built on experience. You're looking at Project 4, their 4th generation of products with super cool colorways to stand out, with matching sets to satisfy with a solid B4 bungee, lightweight ergonomic M4 mouse, the K4 keyboard is fantastic, all of which are performance focused, and finish it off with colorful GP4 mouse mats that are bold in design and smooth on the surface. The retro theme in particular has got the feels. Complete your setup with Xtrfy. No regrets, guaranteed.
Fist bumps go to the teammates.
I wanna see you rolling fast. Win the round. Win the game.
Parry Match, your esports teammate.
All right, we're live. HLTV Confirmed, episode 44. Just confirmed that with Lucas, so if it's wrong, you can blame him. We're back again, and quick shout out to the sponsors. That's Xtrfy. Check them out if you need any peripherals, mouse, keyboard, mousepad, headphones. They do the lot. Xtrfy.com. And Parry Match. Gamble responsibly. Yeah, if you want to have a punt, head over there. A punt means gambling. That's what it is. All right, let's get into the show. On tonight's show, this is for our audio-only listeners. We're going to be talking with Valde in the hot seat. We'll be talking all things OG, of course, FaZe. Yeah, you'll never guess. Oops, they've done it again. Guardian, apparently he's making a resurgence as well. IEM Summer wrap-up, Blast Spring preview, playtime, and all those fun questions. Lucas?
Yes?
What temperature do you keep your air conditioner at?
I don't have an air conditioner. I'm Danish.
Okay.
I'd say
it's fucking warm in Denmark right now. Mate.
I mean, I have a fan, and I just keep it on high.
Okay, I have a fan as well.
All right.
That's okay then.
So normally, Lucas, what we would recommend, and this is for everybody at home, it's a PSA for all the dads out there like me. You want to keep it at 21 degrees and do not have any doors open in the house with the air conditioner on it, or you're going to drive that power bill through the roof. All right, 21, that's all you need. I know you think you need the kind of 18, 21's fine. All right, Striker, you're back. Are you feeling better?
But feeling better. I wasn't.
Well, I'm just going to assume you're sick because that's the only reason people don't come to work.
Right. No, that wasn't it.
Okay. Well, so you are feeling better though.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Striker's feeling better. That's good. Prof, the pregnancy?
No longer pregnant. That's the thing.
Prof, how you doing?
Okay. I'm fine.
You're looking very summery.
Yeah. I mean, it's like OG flower power, some shit. So I'm like, I'll take this shirt. I also have like 3 different shirts, like this one and like 5 black ones and 5 white ones. So I'm like, okay, I'll go with this one today.
All right, you're making the most of it. I thought you maybe were inspired by the shirts on the IEM Summer broadcast. And I want to introduce Valde. So we've got to run the bloody bumper. Lucas, get it going. And then we get into the hot seat. All right, Valde is here. You can see the lovely man on your screen right now. And first and foremost, we'll give a congratulations for your birthday just the other day. You're in your mid-20s now, so things are starting to heat up, mate. And congratulations and commiserations at the same time for the whole grand final situation yesterday. We're going to dig into that in no time. But Valde, in general, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. I think it was a long boot camp, but a good one as well. Obviously, a little bit disappointed after yesterday's final, but... yeah, looking in hindsight, I feel like Gambit, they've just been playing together forever as a unit, it seems, and they're by far and away the best team in the world right now. So I feel like we can't be too down about ourselves, even though we lost 3-0 in the final. So overall, I'm doing good.
Okay. Yeah, we're having a bit of a chat about that before we went live. Like the context of losing to Gambit, you do the whole Flashpoint situation. There's definitely no reason to walk around with your heads held too low. I think you guys showed the Counter-Strike that this new roster is capable of. And maybe we should start there, right? Because if we give everybody a bit of a backstory, OG came together. You guys obviously had previously it was MBK and ISSAA in place of niko and flameZ, but you guys were together for a really, really long time, right? And you were hovering around, you were around the top 10, you're cracking in top 10. You guys are, you just, I wanted to say plateaued, right? What were your reasons or your understandings or the team's understandings for the roster shuffle and the roster changes with those two boys in the first place?
It's a hard question, and in my opinion, I think there is no like easy answer to it. I feel like it's a multitude of things that led to the changes. I would say, like, first of all, I think we were actually one of the teams in 2020 that really tried to find a way and a solution out of the problems we had. Obviously, when you build an international team from scratch, there is going to be issues along the way. And I feel like everyone was kind of on the same page about that. Like, no one expected it to be super smooth. But I feel like we actually slowly improved. And even though we had some rough events every now and then, I actually feel like we tried as a unit to like constantly improve and actually work on the problems we had, Like, it wasn't something like after 3 months we instantly do a roster change. I really felt like we had good team spirit, and like some great people on the team. But at the same time, it's also really rough when you get like beyond a year of play and you haven't had like any trophies. That's just gonna wear and tear on any Counter-Strike team, in my opinion. I also felt we got slightly unlucky in some events. I feel like IEM New York, for example, where we met FaZe in the final. I'm not saying we should have won the final. I'm just saying like that event was meant for us. And I feel like if we couldn't win an event like that against a FaZe that was essentially like half disbanding, that was a really rough one. And then we went on to the Flashpoint final as well, where we had some really unfortunate scheduling. If you remember, I think we played, what was it, like 3 best of 3s in a span of 24 hours or something crazy like that, playing until 4 in the morning. Then we meet VP in the final, which we beat in the groups. And then I think everyone was just so tired. So yeah, we just couldn't beat them on the day. There was another trophy that went missing for us. So I feel like these missed chances of actually winning a trophy together just made it super rough in the end. And then I feel like also the roles and maybe there was some slight interpersonal issues, which eventually just led to changes being the only option as I see it. So that is like my honest opinion about it. Maybe I forgot something along the way. I don't feel like there was a single person that is to blame for the changes. I think OG did everything they could. We had complete control over the team. So I can't really blame anyone else but ourselves. And then maybe a slight bit of misfortune every now and then. But overall, I feel like we did everything we could, but it just didn't work out in the end.
Sure.
We had MBK on just, not MBK, Aleksib just before you made those changes, essentially. And it was pretty clear that you guys were going through kind of like a reevaluation phase, trying to figure out what you can do, what you can't do. And one of the things we were talking about was kind of like the behind the scenes stuff, like more support staff and things around that. So that's something that obviously fans can't really see or maybe don't pay attention too much. So is there something that you did along those lines as well, apart from the roster changes?
Actually, no, we didn't get any sports psychologist or anything like that yet. It might be on the cards later. But right now, I feel like we've had so much work to do with the 2 new players on the team. And in this online era where you're constantly playing event after event every single week, it's just super tough, like making any significant improvements, I would say, on the like organizational side. Maybe that's a thing to come when LANs return. But right now, it's honestly like same setup as before, but with a couple of new players.
Okay. It looks like you guys had a pretty good vibe just recently, right? Like everybody over your house for a barbecue and stuff. Like it looks. I know you maybe not. The boot camp is something which you guys are doing, which you didn't do before, so or weren't able to do before, obviously due to the whole ISSAA situation. So how much of it, like obviously early, it's fantastic, but is this something you guys are going to try and aim to do at every possible turn? Actually, we should be back at LAN soon. You might not have to. That's left me in an interesting position there, hasn't it? Okay, so maybe the boot camp will go out the window. All right, even with lands back, would you consider doing these boot camps as the best way to get practice, or would you have everybody go home between the events? Or maybe it's something you guys haven't even discussed yet.
I think it's two completely different scenarios. Like if LAN returns, I feel like it makes less sense to bootcamp, at least that often. But if we're gonna continue with the online era for like, let's say, the rest of the year, then bootcamps are for sure a way, in my opinion, to how do I phrase it like properly? I think in our case, I think we try hard way more when we're at bootcamp. Like everyone's like playing all the time. You really feel the energy and the vibes from each other. You really hold each other accountable as well. Let's say someone is having an off day. I don't know, maybe I know, for example, Aleksib was feeling sick one of these like official matches we played in IEM, and let's say that would have been online. Maybe it's super easy for him when he's like alone in his room to be, a little bit tilted, frustrated. Maybe he's feeling down. That's just a game that could very easily slip out of our hands, in my opinion, if it was an online game and everybody was just at home. But when you're at boot camp, there's just a complete different vibe. Like everybody's like enjoying each other, hyping each other up. So yeah, I feel like we have also like a better individual level when we're at boot camp, and I think it honestly shows. And like we're gonna aim at least for these online events to have a boot camp, because I feel like we just simply play better. But I will say like boot camps are overrated in the sense that let's say your team is gonna. Let's say you have a team where like nobody fucking believes in each other and like the team is in shambles. A boot camp is not gonna do anything for you. Like if you have a team that is actually on like an upwards trajectory and where people actually believe in each other, then I feel like a boot camp is really fucking sick, because that's gonna like motivate people and set people on fire. But if you just have a boot camp for the sake of having a boot camp, I don't believe in that for a second. So I think you really need to understand the difference between the state of a team going into a boot camp and not just looking at the boot camp itself. I think that's very important.
Okay. Let's focus in a little bit more now with the two changes. Obviously, you guys went for two players right at the same time, and normally, or not normally, maybe history with a lot of teams, they're always cycling through one, right? One guy goes and they bring someone else in, and that never seems to well, I don't know if it doesn't seem to work, but for example, you and Heroic both just did two. You actually grabbed one of the Heroic players, right? But do you think that having two players come in helps shift the whole identity, or was it ever considered maybe just get rid of MBK or maybe just get rid of ISSAA? Like, what was the thought process with the two changes?
To be completely honest with you, I felt like we discussed like a double change at the same time. And I think the main reasoning was just to like try and shake the team up completely, get a different play style, get some role switches, just get like a complete fresh atmosphere in the team. I think it can be a little bit hard if you have, like, let's say you have the same core of 4 and you're only changing one guy, then I think it's super hard to actually feel a significant change within the team atmosphere. Because this guy is just going to come in and he's going to basically just kind of like slot in and listen to whatever is being done on the team already, right? But if you change two at the same time, then I feel like it's something completely different, because then you have two people coming in from probably like two different teams. And I just feel like it's a complete reset, both mentally and play style wise. So I think a double change was probably the better option for us. And I think it made a lot of sense at the time.
That's actually something that we talked about with Anders. I don't know if you guys remember when we had the ancient episode. I think he was referring to Lurpus about being on that train as well, where if you just make one change, like you can't really you're not going to be able to accommodate that guy into the team. He's going to adapt to you and not the other way around. Like it's never going to be a significant change. He's just going to slide into the most of the roles that the guy that you just kicked out played, right? So I like this approach for sure.
One thing here, I guess if we focus in on the two names, Prof, do you have anything, by the way? I haven't laid you up yet.
I can actually ask something just about, because you mentioned role changes and like you have a very specific role, I feel like, on OG. And during this like period last year before the roster changes where you had some issues and stuff like that, like looking from the outside, it always seemed like there was like another player missing. Like maybe ISSAA, when he was on LAN, he was that player, but then you need like an X factor. How did you feel personally, like individually in the team as a player? Did you feel like you were doing enough for the team, or were you considering like changing some things, changing your play style to maybe like facilitate the team to reach new heights, right?
I think it's a really good question. If I give my complete honest answer, I feel like on the previous OG team, I feel like we all went on too much of a compromise with our own playing style, meaning that everybody on the team kind of had to sacrifice something on some maps, which essentially made everything, like, I wouldn't say dog shit, but just like a little bit
Nothing was
off.
perfect, right?
Yes, exactly. Like nothing ever felt completely perfect. And like some maps I was doing a little bit of lurking. Some maps it was ISSAA. Few maps it was MBK. You know, sometimes like ISSAA was running first. Most of the time it was probably MBK. I don't know, like some of my good spots, for example, on some maps, I had to change to accommodate other people. Other people probably did the same to accommodate me. So I just feel like it was all kind of a mess, and then we had the whole like in-game leading problem in the beginning. I honestly, at least I feel like, never wanted to be an in-game leader on this team. So I feel like this whole angle of, I remember people in the beginning at least were saying like, oh, they have like 3 in-game leaders, it's not gonna work. Like, in my honest opinion, it's like complete bullshit. I was never ever supposed to be an in-game leader. Like, of course, I'll say my opinion every now and then, or if I see something on the map, I'll give my input. But it was never my goal to be like an in-game leader. Maybe not even like the secondary call on the team. I feel like that was probably Nathan, right? And then we also had the coach, like Casper, pitching in with a lot of stuff as well. So I feel like on this OG team, the whole time, like both the current roster and the previous one, it's like Aleksib is calling. Every now and then when I have an input, I'll say it. But there was never 3 in-game leaders on this team. Like never, ever. And if you could hear the comms, you'd probably say the same. And like the comms could be really fucking messy at times. And of course, like we are all to blame for that. But I didn't feel like it was like, because we had 3 in-game leaders, it was more of the fact that we're like an international team. So in any given situation, I just feel like we all had like different approaches to like how to play it. Like maybe me and Nathan and Aleksib had one approach, then ISSAA had a completely like different one because he came from a totally different team where they maybe had like a completely different play style. So I think it's like, I don't know if it was Striker or Professor who said it, but nothing ever felt perfect, and the roles never made 100% sense in my opinion. So yeah, I don't know. It's hard for me to pinpoint exactly what went wrong. I just think it was like a multitude of things, to be honest.
Like I think one of the things that seemed noticeable watching was almost, and maybe it was more so during the online stuff because of like ISSAA's internet and that kind of stuff, but it did really just feel like lack of firepower in a way. Like you guys would have players who would get like 1.5 when you kind of needed to get 2. And now obviously with the clear upgrades of niko and flameZ, like they're getting you the 2, right? Like the upgraded players, the 2 players who you've gotten, like for the players you had, like that's, you guys have, it's like, I don't know. I don't want to be too harsh here on the old boys, but they're fucking sick upgrades. Like I was very vocal about your old lineup, right? Like I don't know why. I'm a cunt sometimes. I guess that's just what happens. It's just,
I mean, I think it happened this way. Like one time you criticize them, and then someone, like a random fan, was like, "Why are you always shitting on OG?" And then you're like, "No, now I'm gonna shit on OG." And then
Probably.
every other time it just went super hard, just to be a cunt. Right?
It's all right. I've gotten over the other pundits on the internet now. I kind of just ignore them, and I think I said last episode, I just think they're comedians. So now it doesn't bother me. But yeah, probably before when I was like a bit more of a mentalist. And like I looked at the old roster and I was like, look, you guys can be good, but I didn't think you guys can win trophies. And now with this team, like I think you guys can win trophies. Like you must be feeling the firepower upgrade of niko and flameZ, right? You just saw flameZ in the group stage. The kid was fucking nuts. Can't imagine him how good must he be in practice when he's got no pressure on him?
Yeah, I mean, just to go back to your previous point, I feel like it's I'll be honest and say it's pretty true. I think what people need to realize is a lot of these online games, when you're facing teams like Gambit, Heroic, NAVI, like, if you have the firepower available on your team, you're gonna win a lot of games just because like 2 people are having a sick game. Like, doesn't go further than that. Doesn't matter at all what Aleksib is calling or what any other in-game leader is calling. Does not matter about the preparation. If you have 2 people on the team on any given day, which is like on fire, you see it with Gambit as well. Like, if you have people who can take over a game, it's gonna win you games and give you that like extra consistency that's gonna get on top of like your strategical structure or whatever. So I feel like, yeah, we probably had a lot of games where we just needed 1 or 2 people to, yeah, like be on fire individually, and then we could like snowball from there. And that's maybe what, yeah, didn't get us across the finish line at some tournaments. And it was obviously a tough time, but yeah, in my opinion, we have a better individual team now. But I still feel like people like NBK could be super valuable to a lot of teams out there. And like, sometimes I gotta wonder, like, if you went back to Vitality, what would that team look like? Because the old Vitality team was insane, in my opinion. Like, I never quite understood why they made the NBK change without knowing any personal things. And I didn't understand why they made the RPK change either, to be completely honest with you. So yeah, I don't know if you want to dive into that, but I just feel like the RBK change, maybe I know it's a bit off topic, but they were winning with him, right? So I just feel like RBK is not the reason why that team is winning or losing. Like, he's a soldier, he's gonna be there, he's gonna be always a rock. I'm guessing he was like super nice to play with as a person. And I feel like if you start losing as Vitality, I'm more looking towards the other players, to be completely honest with you. I don't think RBK was the reason why this team went downhill. So to me, it was like a very big gamble that they changed him. Maybe it will be better with like Kyojin or whatever his name is. But
Yeah, Kyojin, I think it is.
yeah,
I don't know. I'm making it up.
I'm not too sure. Like, maybe he'll turn out to be sick. Like, that's not for me to say. But in my opinion, it's really risky getting rid of these like role players, because I just don't feel like he was the main issue.
Sure. Were we discussing this last week, Prof? I forget. It was like, maybe I was talking to Yanko, but it's about the future building for Vitality.
I
That's
think
what
you're
it
doing
seems
that
like.
in the hot tub in the pool.
Fucking hell. Yeah, we were talking. The conversation we're having when we did that pool cast thing for IEM was that it's them building for the future, right? Like, RPK's was one of the oldest pros, actually probably the oldest pro playing at that level, right? Because Vitality considered a top 5 team for quite a long period of time. So it kind of feels like they're like, if you had Apex, Shox, and RPK, they're 3 old boys, right? Like, in the scheme of things, they're 3 old boys. Now that they've got the fucking anime weeb team, I'm calling them, with Zywoo, Masuta, and Kyojin, right? They've all got little anime names. It's like they're building, right, for the future. Those 3 now become the core, and now the other 2 around, giving that, like you were talking about, like we're talking about with RPK being a role player. Maybe they think it's easier to fill that, because obviously filling Apex's role is going to be really difficult to do, right? To have somebody doing the in-game leading, there's not too many of them going around. And then with Shox, he can still be the X Factor star. So maybe they thought if we just get RPK replacement for him in that role, it might be easier to fill that void going forward, because it's definitely a future thing. And maybe
to be honest, it almost feels like what we discussed earlier with like 2 changes. Like, it would be the ideal time to make 2 changes, like RPK and Shox. If you can find like a potential X Factor star player in France that can fill the Shox void, to like get an upgrade there, and then have a like RPK replacement that you build on, right? But I don't know if you actually have a player that can fit that role very well, because under Vitality, the French scene is kind of empty.
Double pony, right? They're up to the top 30 in your rankings. You know, they're making some moves. All right, let's focus a bit more in on OG and Valde, and then we'll move into the recent news. And I'm pretty sure Vitality will come up later. Yes, Striker?
Yeah, just one thing, just to kind of backtrack to where we left off in terms of OG. I still want to talk about that, obviously.
Oh yeah.
When we had Aleksib, he was talking about you specifically, and kind of like how you couldn't really be that person who could step up every game, or like at least be the carry, you know, like you weren't really in that position. So did you really find it hard to be that guy who could kind of like lead every game basically in the fragging department, or?
I think so, yes. He's right. And I've been thinking myself like what the reason is. I feel like back in the old days when I came onto the scene in Heroic, for example, I was really aggressive actually, doing like plenty of entry fragging, just overall being way more aggressive, both as like T and CT. Then when I came into North back in the day, I feel like I got a lot of like the passive spots on the map, both as T and CT, like ramp on nuke, B-side train, B-side mirage. And I'm honestly fine with that. I always had a rule of thumb, like if the team is winning and I need to do these shit spots, I don't give a fuck. Like I don't care. But if the team is not winning, then I might feel like it's an issue because I feel like I could be way more valuable elsewhere, right? I always try to make that distinction, but I feel like it's tough as a player if you go from being super aggressive then to being like really passive for a year or two, and then you need to go back to being aggressive again. Like that's a really hard change to make role-wise. And if you constantly switch spots, switch in-game leaders, switch play styles, then I just feel like you maybe lose your identity as a player a little bit. And I think maybe other players can agree with this. So like overall, I feel like it's been super hard finding your identity on OG, and that is like not Aleksib's fault or anyone's fault at all. It's just the reality of things, right? So I'm still trying my best to find a good mix between being passive and aggressive at the same time, and yeah, always trying to think about the moves I do, what I did in previous games, and then obviously you gotta be on point individually as well. I'm trying to play as much as I can outside practice. Yeah, be sharp, look at demos of other players, stuff like this to see what other people are doing to find success. So I think it's a really good question, and I don't have the perfect answer.
Has having niko and flameZ come in helped define the roles a bit more? Because to me, it seems like you know what you're gonna get out of niko in terms of doing some of the more bomb site anchory jobs, or you can leave him to his own devices. And then flameZ, you want to use him more aggressively. You want to use
Yes.
that young kid, 17-year-old mechanical brilliance, right? And then like it for me, it feels like now you get to be a bit more flexible, because before I thought you were tied down a bit more.
I completely agree. I think with niko, we have one of the best soldiers in like all of Counter-Strike. Like the guy will literally do anything. Like he'll take the shotgun if needed. He'll say like, "Let me run first. You can just trade me." He'll take whatever shit role is assigned to him. He'll like entry bomb sites. He can do lurking. He can do whatever. And then with flameZ, I think we have like one of the best talents in the game. And I think the guy is just suited for entry fragging. Like he's super fearless. I remember one of the first official games we played at our last bootcamp. I think it was at Blast against Astralis on Inferno. He was like, when we were about to execute B, he was just like, "Yo guys, let me run first." And it gives you that confidence as a teammate that someone is willing to sacrifice for you. Then you're also willing to do the same for him, right? And I think just the fact that he's 17 and already playing and showing this kind of confidence is really surprising to me, because usually like, and I don't blame them, these younger people, they usually care a lot about stats and roles and like confidence. And I don't blame them at all, because the community and yeah, the whole scene is usually judging newcomers really hard. And if you don't have good stats, you might be out of the team before you know it, right? So I think the fact that he's so selfless already and playing with this kind of confidence really gives me hope for the future. And I think also the fact that I think he plays like 3.6 sensitivity or something, just makes it physically easier for him to clear angles and stuff. So I think he's like suited for entry fragging, and I think these like aggressive types of roles on the T side really suit him well.
Okay. On the niko one, was there any concern picking him up after Heroic just dropped him like a bit of a hot potato? The Borup one, maybe you could understand, right? But the niko one, he was one of their biggest contributors in it, especially in like clutch moments or tight moments, and then he just got dropped. Did that like raise any alarm bells when looking into him? Did you guys discuss that?
I think we're in the fortunate situation that both me and our coach has like played/coached niko before. So I feel like I 100% know what I get when I get niko into the team. I know him as a person. I've played with him since I've played FaZe and matchmaking with him since I think like 2014 or something, right? Like before any of us were pros. So in my opinion, there was no concerns whatsoever. And I said that to OG management as well. Like, we should 100% get this guy as soon as he was available on the market. Again, I think he's a great soldier. And to me, it was like a present from heaven that we could get niko into the team. Like, he was a really great addition to the team. It made a lot of sense role-wise. And then when we could see the opportunity to get flameZ as well, I really feel like that was a no-brainer overall. So I'm super pleased about both guys coming into the team.
Okay. Boys, do we want to touch on the Flashpoint stuff? Prof Strike, you guys want to jump in that, or do we want to maybe move on past that? I don't know if there's any. I don't have too many questions regarding it. Strike,
Yeah, I mean, just one thing regarding the niko edition. Obviously, I mean, this is something that people will read into way too much, but it's just one of the concerns that you have when you have an international team and like a part of the team is the same face from the same country, right? And now you have 3 people from Denmark after niko came in, which is pretty much like half of the team at this point. So does that make it more difficult to kind of not split into like 2 camps and stuff like that, or are you kind of okay with that now that you're boot camping and stuff?
I mean, I can be honest here as well. I think before we made any final decisions about the roster, Aleksib made it pretty clear that he didn't want 3 players being from the same country on the team. Doesn't matter if it's Danish, could be another country as well, but he doesn't want like 3 or more players being from the same country, and I can completely understand him, because then you maybe get into the like. It's not that there is like a specific issue with it. I just think it's the fact that if things start to go bad, then you just might feel uncomfortable, right? Like, what are these guys talking about after the fact? Maybe they know each other in real life. Like, maybe they see each other every single day outside of tournaments. Like, do they then plan on changing me out at a later point in time if we do badly? So I can completely understand where he's coming from, and I feel like it was a fair demand to make. I feel like when it's the coach as the third guy being Danish, that's like a different thing in my opinion, because we had him since day one as well, when it was like only me as the only Danish guy apart from him. And then we also have basically a rule on the team, and that is whenever we are in whenever we have a team talk or whenever we are on TeamSpeak with each other, you don't speak your own language in front of the others. I think that's basic respect, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Just so everybody is on the same page and can understand what's going on, right? So me and niko and Kasper we're basically talking English 99% of the time. If we're sitting in prac room, me and niko is having like a normal conversation outside the game, we can speak Danish, but usually we try and keep it English all the time, so everybody's like, yeah, nothing shady is going on, right?
It's
That's
like
the
the
anti G2.
or the big situation. That was the old one with when Smuya was on the team, and allegedly they're just speaking German all the time, and that wasn't that great. But yeah, G2 are also, we saw a couple of clips in clutches and everything.
Yeah.
They revert to like Serbian a lot of the time. So
I mean, don't get me wrong. I think it is maybe a slight advantage if you can speak your own language when you're in a 2v2 clutch. But even on this team, I remember actually at IEM, me and niko had a clutch on Mirage. I think we were like 2-on-2, and then Kasper said to us, "Guys, you can speak Danish if you want." And me and niko was like, "What the fuck?" And then we were just speaking English anyway because it's so natural to us, and we basically do it all day long. So it's not a problem to me at all. And I actually don't think there's been a single clutch where we suddenly started speaking Danish in the middle of a round.
do you think in English by now? Do you dream in English, or are you not at that point yet?
I'm not at that point yet, but it might come soon, bro. I'm on my second
You'll
year on international
get there,
team.
trust me.
Yeah, I'll probably get there, yeah.
This right here, right? One of my the little bet I have with Striker, I'm not going to go into it. We're not going to, but basically, I don't have a lot of faith in international teams because of the communication factor. But what you're saying here, like, actually builds a lot of confidence in international teams for me, right? If teams copy that, I don't want to say strict mantra, but like have that as a cultural understanding, right? Because if it's so commonplace that, like that what you just said with Rugger, that you're defaulting to English anyway, even though you could go to Danish, that to me is starting to take away some of my doubts with the whole lag thing, because eventually you're going to get to a point, especially with the Danes Aleksib being Finnish, Mantu has a Polish flag, but we all know he fucking speaks English. Like, you know what? So like when that's happening, it's fluent as fuck. And I heard flames on some of the little clips that they were doing with the voice. His like the English in the team sounds phenomenal. It sounds like there were not any dramas at all.
No, it is. What was I gonna say? I had a really good point, but now I forgot it.
This is why I made the bet, SPUNJ. I knew I'm playing the
You
long
knew
game
someone
here.
would crack the code.
This is why we set the bet to 5 years.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Because I know we're okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, just a small side note. I think like so now I've been playing like what is it like 1.5 years or something on international team, and I think with niko as well and flameZ, I think I can probably count on one hand the amount of rounds where I felt like we've lost due to not being able to speak Danish. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's really rare that someone like can't find the correct words or the spot name or like explaining any given situation in the correct manner. I really feel like it doesn't happen a lot. And maybe the few times that it actually did, it was actually in practice, I think. And then niko is like writing me on Steam, if I talk Danish, we would have won this round. And I'm like, yeah, whatever, it doesn't matter. But, you know, it's really not an issue as I see it. I think it's more of an issue when you have team talks. Because like when you have team talks, maybe if you want to discuss, let's say you had a rough period as a team and you want to discuss something, can be personal stuff, then I think it's easier to relate to each other and understand each other and word it in the exact right way if you speak the same language. It can be hard getting your point across sometimes if you got to word it in English, because maybe I simply don't know the word or it comes out a little bit wrong. If you're a little bit tilted after the game, it might also come out wrong because of the tone or like, your tone in the voice. I actually feel like that's more of a problem language-wise than inside the game, because inside the game you see it in FPL as well. Like we all have the same spot names, and in these clutches, people are so good nowadays, so they know exactly what to do. I really don't think language is an like a controversial factor on the team. I really don't think so.
Okay, that's good news for the future of Striker's bet, but we're getting close to Striker
What-
every
what's the
day.
bet? What's the bet?
The bet is basically that an international team, for me to win, an international team has to be in top three ranked for 6 months straight. Top 3 or top 5? Top 3, right?
I think it's top 3 for
So,
6
like,
months.
From what point in time? The beginning of the year?
Well,
or
No,
just
we
like
started
6
the
months
bet
any
straight.
point.
Just 6
We-
months straight. If they're in top 3, I win the bet.
and no one ever did that, or what?
This has been going
FaZe
for
did
what,
it.
2 years now? This bet.
Okay.
FaZe
But
did it,
after
but
FaZe,
like
no one
not.
did it.
Yeah.
Okay.
FaZe are, I think, the only team who did it.
So so you just let me get it clear. Like I'm gonna make you lose that bet, bro.
I bet Striker and Pimp
Okay.
$1,000, maybe it's euros, whatever it is.
Euros,
A
yeah.
1,000
Doesn't matter.
euros each. That it won't happen. And I had to up the ante. I had to up the ante as well because they wouldn't take the bet initially because I think the first one was like 3 years. They wouldn't take it. So then I had to up it to 5 years. So you
No,
got
it was
like
top 1. It was top 1 at first,
Top
which is
1?
fucking crazy. Like almost no team in the history has been able to keep a top 1 ranking for 6 months straight. That's
Yeah,
impossible.
Not even
man.
national teams.
I still
Yeah,
gave you a pretty
exactly.
good window
Only
though.
like Australia.
Yeah, no, this was a window I was happy with. That's why I took the bet.
5 years. All right. So there's what, three to go. So
Yeah, we
go.
were about the 2-year mark. I think it was like before or after Cologne, the episode that you had 2 years ago, 2019.
okay.
So
Can I still join in on the bet and we
No,
split? the
no,
winnings?
no more
What?
taking it. Well, you
What?
can get Striker on the phone, mate, and you can
Okay.
tell him you'll get him there, but the money's not going up. I'm not risking any more now. I'm starting to get a little bit worried.
Look,
right?
I'm pretty happy with what Valde has been saying here about the communication not being an issue. You know, that's exactly what I wanted to hear.
All right. Now, look, we have probably a lot of questions to do with IEM Summer, but do we just want to save them to talk to Valde in the IEM Summer segment? That might be a better move.
we
I
can
think
do
that's the
that,
best, probably. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we're going to have a lot of stuff for playtime as well. I've had some good questions come through on Instagram. I think, Prof, you've got a couple of good ones as well. So yeah, we'll end the hot seat here, Lucas. Let's roll into the recent news and we'll get things going.
The Xtrfy M42 RGB, what a fun mouse with 5 colorways, lightweight frame at just 59 grams with a swappable backplate to suit your grip style, the sensor, the easy core, the smooth skates and driverless control for RGB and DPI is why you should check out the M42 RGB down below.
Fist bumps go to the teammates.
I wanna see you falling fast. Win the round. Win the game.
Parimatch, your esports teammate.
All right, thank you for sticking with us through the little break. Are we in? Lucas, we all good? Okay, cool. You're making me doubt myself. Bloody Nora. All right. We're going to get into the recent news, and we have a lot of news today, actually. Monday seems to be the day for news. It does make a lot of sense. Olof, well, we wondered what was going on with old boys over there in FaZe. Well, he's back in the team. So to catch everybody up to speed, they benched coldzera. Did they bench or did he leave? Which one? What are they pretending?
As the official saying is that he benched himself.
Yeah, he got benched. Is where I'm going to go with it. You guys can believe whatever you want. That's what I'm going to believe. You guys can have whatever thought process you want about that situation. I'm going to go with he got benched. But regardless of that, we're wondering what they were going to do. And we had seen people taking the screenshots and they're pracking with olof. And then we're like, are they really going to go back with olof? And now apparently they are really going to go back with olof for a, as Twist says, more permanent basis. What does that mean to you, Prof?
Number one, it means FaZe are still run kind of like an amateur organization almost, because the news always comes from the players. Like for most of the things that happen with FaZe, you don't get a normal announcement. It's like someone is talking to a player in an interview. It's like, yeah, I'm just going to ask this question because I have to, but you don't even actually expect an answer, like a straight answer. And then the player is like, yeah, we're playing with this player. This guy's on trial. It's like, okay, this is actually like breaking news. Thank you for telling me.
Can I stop you there though?
Yeah.
Because a FaZe, even an org, aren't they just a frat house with lots of money?
I mean,
that's how we've been viewing them. Yes.
Right. No, but really, like if anybody, like, of course they've done a fantastic job and they've had some people there who have helped them with YouTube channels and Instagram channels and their social media coverage and getting big, I don't know, regular sport humans or influencers or whatever the fuck they are. I don't follow anything other than Counter-Strike, so I don't even know that. But realistically, are we expecting anything different from FaZe? They've gone, here you go, boys. We'll give you a shitload of money. We'll take that 2 million in sticker money that comes through every now and again that it gets put in the game. We'll probably use that to recycle. And you guys can be self-sufficient. Do whatever the fuck you want, right? Like, are we? I don't know. Are we expecting that to change?
No, not really. But it's gonna be hard to keep up with all of these other teams and the way they're approaching like the long-term thinking and just having better PR, and not in the way that NIP are doing it, obviously, but like actually having people believe in like the way G2 are doing it to a degree, even though Malik maybe went overboard on a comment and people got it the wrong way. Just I think having a good perception in the community kind of matters, so people balance expectations a bit more. And this is something that Kerrigan also touched on in one of like a press conference. I don't think it was posted anywhere yet, but it's it's the FaZe thing. You have to win or you're shit, get the fuck out, and that's not really reasonable to expect from them, even with the roster that they had with Twists and coldzera. But it was reasonable to expect much better, so criticism would be there either way. I think I don't know even what to say. So it's just like another plus Olofmeister move, which I don't think it's going to long term give them a lot of success.
Okay.
I think that's easy to say.
Well, let's even just focus in on the short term success. We obviously have Rain, Brokey, Twist, Carrigan, and Olof back now. Now, Valde, when you look at this roster, does it strike fear into the heart of you when you know you have to play them? Do they have enough pieces of the puzzle there that are going to make life tough for a top team like you guys?
I mean, I think I can give you a perfect answer to this question. I think even with the old lineup, which in my opinion was more scary with coldzera, it didn't, but it should, right?
Yes.
Like it should. But for some reason, when you play them and when you see them play, I just get the distinct feeling that like something is missing or something is like wrong. And I'm not exactly sure what it is / was. Maybe Olof will bring like some stability, also like personality wise, because I feel like on the old FaZe team with Cold, maybe there was some unresolved issues which we don't really know about. I think, to be honest, I feel kind of sorry for coldzera in the sense that, again, without knowing anything that's going on within like FaZe, but I feel like if you're Cold, like before you already moved to another continent, right? Like you moved from Brazil to NA, then you play in NA, then at some point you get the opportunity to like join your long-term friend, I guess, like Niko. They've been talking about playing together, right, for a while. Then you get to play with him. It's maybe a little bit underwhelming, and then all of a sudden he just fucks off to G2, and then all of a sudden you're alone in Serbia. I think he lives in Serbia, right?
Yeah.
Yes, you're completely on your own. You don't have any of your like former teammates, family, whatever. Like you're stuck in another continent, you're by yourself. Maybe you're super tilted about like your role, like how your team is performing. And then everything just goes to shit. And then you start realizing like, what am I even doing here? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think the only team, or not team, the only thing that could fix that is results. Like if you're winning, then it doesn't matter. You're willing to sacrifice everything, right? But I think for him, again, without having even spoken to him, I think everything just got to a point where it just sucked, you know? Like it's not fun to play anymore. And I can completely understand his situation. And I think I just have to, again, clarify, like, it's only my own speculation, my own thoughts. But I just get the feeling that he wasn't really in it anymore mentally. And I think that's the reason why he maybe didn't play up to his potential as well. So I actually think FaZe might improve on the short term with Olof, but I kind of agree with Professor. I have maybe a hard time seeing them being really successful and a top 5 contender in the long run with this roster change.
Okay. Now, Striker, I wanna post this one in your direction here. Now we don't have a lot of examples of this, and I think you're probably leading in the same direction as Valde and Prof, that these guys aren't going to be hugely successful, maybe a little bit of success. But for Olof specifically, if we just focus in on his last couple of years, right? It's been in, out, in, out, in, out. If we look at the breaks, do we think that those breaks for Counter-Strike players are a chance for them to take a step back and reflect on where the meta is at and then come back and hopefully hit the ground running? Or do we look at that as lost time? How do you frame the off periods, like into the on periods? Like, is it even possible for him to be able to compete at a top level, or is he just going to be a role player?
I think it's. I mean, I don't know if this will count for every player, but specifically for Olof, I don't feel like any of those breaks helped him. Like if you think back to like the Columbus one, that was obviously like health related. Just the year before that, he was like one of the best players in the world, if not, well, the best player in the world, right? After he came back from the break, he was obviously still a good player, but he was never in that same position again. And after the second break that he took, I can't remember when that was, because he's had like, I think this was his third.
Now.
That was in 2018 when they had Chroman, right?
Right, they existed, then Chroman, right, right. Yeah, I'm just getting in the right time frame. And that was kind of the same thing, right? Like he just took a step down again, and now like he was at such a bad position that I feel like he can't really go down anymore. So it's probably going to help him, just because like it's very difficult to go down from where he was. He was in a pretty bad spot, I think, when he left FaZe. So I think at this point, he's still going to be that role player. Maybe it's going to help him a little bit, but I don't think it's going to matter.
For example, like if I can just ask you guys a quick question. Like for me, I have a really hard time seeing like what is the one thing that is going to help FaZe become a great team again. Because I usually, you know, let's say you have a really good team, but they just lack that one thing to make them
like a better
contender.
offer,
Yes,
or
like
you know,
like maybe like could be a lot of things, right? But I just feel like I can't pinpoint one thing where it's like if they change this, they're gonna become great, right? I feel like they somewhat have the pieces. They have a great in-game leader. I don't know, like I assume they have a good coach as well. Robin is back, right?
Yep.
And then I feel like Brokey is actually really good in my opinion. Twist, if he can find his level, amazing player. Like, But again, I just feel like I can't pinpoint one thing that is going to make them a super great team again and a title contender. And I think that's kind of like scary, actually.
We're hoping, right? If you're a FaZe fan, you're hoping to get 100% out of Brokey and Twist every time they enter the server, right? That is a win condition right there. Karrigan can call a great game, but if you're not getting Brokey and Twist at 100%, then you're fucked. Because let's be honest, Rain, we haven't been getting the best out of Rain for some time, and olof, we haven't seen the best out of olof for a very long time. So then, if you're talking about the one piece, valde, that they need as a team, I think the one piece they need as a team is to be hungry, right? Like that sounds ridiculous to say, but let's say that half of them are in more of a lethargic state, or half of them are like in a just like writing out the contract with the fucking money coming in, and they're just playing because they're in FaZe, right? Then they're never gonna click, because right, the pieces are there, the experience is there, the talent, either the new talent, which is not even new anymore, and the old talent of what they could produce if they can find the drive to get them back to that level. That's all there. But
yeah.
I don't know if they have, like, for Karrigan, we're looking at a couple of last chances here for him to ever be winning some big titles. He's 31 now. I think the next step in the Karrigan career is to go to coaching. I just think that they're lacking that hunger that makes, you know, the teams like you guys, right? OG, one who's just put 2 new players and injected a lot of that new life into the team. I think they're lacking that.
To be honest, like if you look at this lineup, I think to be honest, we don't know like how long-term olofmeister is. I know Twists in this interview, he said that they're building new things together and they wouldn't do that if it wasn't like long-term, but long-term can be 3 months, right?
Yeah.
So
especially
maybe
for FaZe, that is long-term.
People are already saying like, oh, maybe this is like their solution to wait for ROPS to become available, and then they go for that, which could make sense. But let's just like work with what we have now. 3 of these players are definitely past their prime, which is Karrigan, Rain, and olof. Like that, no argument about that. Then you can talk about Twists. Maybe he can still be better than he was, or he'll be about this level. Like he is the best player on the team, most proven, and still, even with these slumps, I think he has been during this whole like phase, like last 3 months or so. And then you have Brokey, who's someone is okay for a newcomer, but also hasn't been like a superstar, will never be a simple, will probably never be a Kenny S or anything of that, maybe, but unlikely, right? To see like an explosive development from Brokey. So you really have players that are, it just needs like an injection of something fresh for me, like, and maybe even 2 players, not just the olofmeister replacement. Adding on to that, like, I know maybe Cold and Twist could have some like role clashes, but I don't also see how that is going to help with the Rain Karrigan like entry fragging weird situation that they're going. It's not weird, but it should be providing more value than it is. Just like statistically, they're not doing that much, right? So that is the issue for me, and I don't think that is getting solved with olofmeister being like the role player lurk and then allowing Twist to be like more of a playmaker.
I agree with a lot of your points, and I can tell you, like, on some practices we play against FaZe, you can still have the occasional phase where they just completely wreck you, like no chance. Like we even had an official game, I think, against them on Mirage, where Twist was killing 3 in connector every single round. Like what are you supposed to do, right? But the thing is, to me, it just doesn't seem like that they're taking this form into the official games, right? Like it's been a really long time since I felt that old school phase where there were just like 2-0 people, 16-5, 16-8. Like no chance for the opponent. And I feel like that also usually came early on the team, right? Like as soon as Karrigan joined and he has these pieces, he's instantly making it work. Or at least like after some time he's making it work. Then he's starting to get at least somewhat decent results, right? But it just seems to me that maybe it's confidence as well. It could be like a confidence issue, because I feel like when you get into a slump as a team and you're going through a rough period, it can be really hard to, when you play the style that FaZe does, I think you need a lot of confidence, because you get a lot of duels, it's a lot of dry peaks, a lot of contact plays, like simple fakes. So if you're not hitting your absolute best individual level, I think you're going to have a rough time. And I think that's what we're seeing from FaZe right now.
I want to bring this up, Lucas. I'm linking you this. I'll put it in the TeamSpeak chat for you boys too, right? Lucas, down the bottom with the lovely little feature that HLTV have, the roster timeline of FaZe, right? Hit the all-time button, right? First of all the players there, that's not too much of a shock with an international team, right? I think that you're going to expect a lot of those clashes that you were talking about earlier, Valde, with like more cultural clashes, right? As opposed to philosophy in-game clashes, but still, they've gone through a shitload of players. Rain's the only one who's been there the whole time. But just look how splotchy it is when you start looking from 2018 up to now. This team is like the definition of a Band-Aid team, right? Some like the Olof one isn't even shown fully because he's only taken that little break, but he did have on and off periods, right, that we were talking about. So you look at this and you just look at like Neo with Dren, like Cold there, BMAS for a little while, Kirby for a little while. The Twisters only just rejoined. Robin's come back as a coach. Like the team is just constantly slapping different fucking band-aids on the problem and hoping it works. And I think this is a sign of where we started this conversation about it being the player-run team, right? Because if it was an org-run team and you were just spending fucking fly, cunt, mosquito, whatever the fuck it is, get it out of your face. When you look at the team going in that direction, right? If it was managed by an org, right, or by a GM, or the coach had more say, they'd come in and they'd go, all right, you're the fuck out. Like, you're done, right? We're doing this, right? And we're going to bring in some players. We can change the identity. We can change the direction. They're trying to fix problems on the fly. So imagine you have a leaking boat, right? And you're trying to plug those holes in the boat and new holes just keep appearing. Of course, the ship's going to sink, right? Like, there's no other way around it. I think that with all the residual issues, they're going to exist with all the players in the team. They're all going to carry baggage, right? From relationship to relationship. I'm a 30, almost 2-year-old man. Let me tell you, I definitely carry a shitload of baggage from my relationships. I can imagine it's the same in game with different things, right? And approaches to the game, in relationships with the players in terms of the interpersonal or things like role overlaps and stuff. I don't want to say scrap the project, but something has to be drastically done, right? Try this one up. Like, let's wait and see what happens. But I'm speculating.
Kirby is still on the bench.
Yeah, fantastic.
There you go.
Cool.
That's a player they can try out. Who knows?
Great.
I just don't like if this is what you were suggesting at the beginning with Robs, them waiting out the contract or whatever he has, like this is just another one of those cases. Like they had the same thing when Olof was on the break the first time. They were like, well, we don't really know when he's coming back, so we're just gonna plug this hole for a while and see what happens, right? Like if this is another one of those cases, like come on, like have you not learned from your mistakes?
Waiting for coldzera, all of these, like it's always the same thing almost with them.
All right. Look, I hope that FaZe Banks tweeted us about speculation without all like the, I hope we get that. I hope that happens. But that's the cool thing with FaZe, because their management don't give a fuck. They're not going to get their nose put out of joint because they're doing a bad job. Let's keep moving because I can't wait to flame NIP later. So let's keep the show rolling here. We won't get stuck into this for too long. ESIC and Akuma. Valde, are Akuma cheating or did they cheat? Everyone else has been really candid. Tell me what you think. Blade said yeah. Who else said yeah? Who else just went yeah?
Hampus
just went yeah.
Hampus
said, Rusty said they're cheating, so they're cheating.
He threw Rusty under the bus for no reason.
I mean, I need to do a fucking disclaimer here, okay? Before I answer this red question.
We'll just clip out
like
that part.
Setting me up for failure,
You don't have to answer.
So no, it's okay. Like I can fucking answer here. So the thing is, first of all, I think never ever in my life, maybe someone can go back on my Twitter to like 2014 or something, but I don't think I've ever called out anyone publicly for cheating, and I don't want to do it here. So let's just get this straight. This is just my personal feeling. I don't have any proof. I don't have any evidence. Just like watching the clips, and I saw what I think it was Starx who was watching some clips as well. From what I saw and from the clips that I watched, I think they were cheating, like stream sniping, whatever.
The radar or another GoTV.
Something, yes, because like some of the decisions they made was just so obvious that I just don't believe it. Like, and if they're legit, hats off to them. They played a fucking great tournament. They beat some great teams. I just have a really hard time seeing how some of these clips can be explained by any like Counter-Strike logic, Like some of the decisions they're doing, like no top player would ever like make those decisions in those given situations. And it's just facts. Like I've talked to so many people behind the scenes. If you see that clip, like it's not your occasional like aim lock where it's like can be fucking random as fuck, right? It's like, I don't know. I think I already made my point.
Sure.
My gut feeling is telling me yes. Could it be legit? Maybe. I don't know. I hope like they're gonna investigate it and come to the right conclusion.
Yeah, and I think that takes us into our next. Well, it takes us perfectly into this now. Striker, wait, it was Profiro. This fucker, Striker. I'll give it to you anyway. I'm
Doesn't
sure you're
matter,
just
yeah.
up to date here with this. So ESIC, they found some evidence, right? Now that evidence, they left it pretty vague, didn't they? As per
I think
usual?
evidence is the right word, and that's something you have to take in lawyer terms, which means evidence is okay. I really can't
Here we go.
explain
Lawyer
this
terms
properly.
from Striker.
I can't explain this properly, so I'm not going to.
His
But
sister
like
is a lawyer, so
the point is that evidence doesn't necessarily mean proof. That's basically
True.
the problem, right? And that's why people will take this a bit too further than it is. Like ESIC basically just suggested that like they have some information that leads them to believe there could be something shady going on behind the scenes, which has to do with the former Project X CEO who placed some, they called it suspicious bets, right? Or bets on suspicious
Bro,
matches.
let me just ask you, like, which CEO bets on their own or other teams? Like, why are you betting? Like, why are you betting? Like, I'm just
Project
gonna
X
ask you, like,
CEO. I can
bro,
answer that.
I
There is
remember, like,
Project
let
X
me
CEO.
let me tell you a story. I remember, like, 2 or 3 years ago, I went to ESL1 Cologne. I think it was with maybe it was Katowice. It doesn't matter. We had like between all the players from the different teams, we had like a anti-cheat meeting with like maybe it was ESIC or one of these organizations who's supposed to catch match fixing, etc. And I remember they told us, like, if a guy contacts you on Steam and asks you to like throw for money or skins or whatever, and you just ignore it and you don't report it, and then that game later on, even if they threw the match and you had nothing to do with it, you're essentially like to blame as well because you didn't say anything about it, right? So even if you just deleted the guy on Steam, never ever spoke to him again, never took any money, maybe you didn't even answer him, you're supposed to report this stuff as well, right? So even with that in mind, like, why are you betting on your own games or like other Counter-Strike games? It's so fucking simple. Don't bet. Go bet on football or basketball or whatever, but
Or
don't fucking
Dota 2 or
yes,
whatever.
go bet on anything you want, but don't bet on Counter-Strike. And I think it was Stygo as well, I saw on Twitter, who replied, like, I think one of his answers to these questions was ridiculous. It's basically like, go find that Stygo tweet. It's ridiculous
Yeah,
what the guy is saying.
I know
like,
what you mean.
Yes, exactly. Like, it's
I mean, he
complete
basically
fucking
outed
ridiculous.
himself. Like
Yes.
he basically confirmed
Yes.
what ESIC was saying.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. And it's just
I think one of the answers, he did an interview for a Ukrainian website, GameInsider.ua, something like that.
I
So
DBA talking about an idiot like this, to be honest. Like, let's fucking move on and talk about something relevant.
just to say, he literally said something along the lines of, yeah, I bet on matches, but only those that we lost or that I lost. I'm not sure if the Google Translate works completely right.
Well, he said something. He like insinuated that he lost more than he won or something like that. Like that.
It's like, why are you saying this?
Yeah.
This doesn't help. It doesn't
Makes things worse.
Matter. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
We all know what the rules are with betting, right? But let me just run quickly through what ESIC has identified, right? They've during the course of normal operations of the global S-band, information was made available to ESIC indicating betting and client information. Now that is the one that sticks out to me. Betting and client information. Could that be what we're talking about with the radar thing or the GoTV? Is that what that sounds like, or am I reading too much into client information?
Yeah, I think that's taking a bit going a bit far, but it's hard to say, right? It's pretty vague.
Okay. Then the next bit was match and player behavior analysis data, prior behavior data, and other relevant information.
I think in this, because it says via global SBAN, which is like some sort of like information network, the information was made available. Betting and client information. In this case, the client is the Project X CEO, is a client of a betting site, right?
Okay.
That's how I see it.
Okay. My interpretation, not great there. But what this played into was the last bit here. It was what they advised. And this is important because we're going to go into the StarLadder stuff in a second. Where are we at here? What ESIC has actioned. until the outcome of any investigation by Valve, or if asked to investigate further, ESIC is recommending to its own tournament organizer members that they do not accept entries from Akuma or any team with a roster made up of more than 3 of the current Akuma players or any team associated with the CEO. I'm not going to try and pronounce his name because I can't. Now, if you guys haven't been to the ESIC website, right, that is a very important thing, because the tournament organizers who are a part of ESIC are like ESL, DreamHack. Let me just make sure I have all these right here. I don't want to fucking lob someone in who isn't a part of this.
Blast is in there, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, members and supporters. Here we go. Tournament operators. The ones that you guys will know, Relog Media. That's one that Akuma probably could be playing in. Relog events of the Snow Sweet Snow stuff, right? We're talking, DreamHack, ESL, Blast, Eden Esports. They're the ones based here in Malta. So there's a couple of like names. Well, big name. WePlay is another one. So ESIC has basically said to the ones who are partnered, or the members and supporters of ESIC, whatever the title is, that not to have Akuma play. That's actually a pretty big deal, right?
Yep.
Like, that's a huge thing, Striker.
Yep. Yeah,
So-
I mean, obviously it's not. I don't think. Yeah, I'm not sure. Obviously it kind of comes down to what kind of agreement they have with ESIC, but obviously it's only a recommendation, so it's not like the tournament organizers necessarily need to do it. That's how I read it.
Kind of goes to the point of having
But
ESIC there to be
obviously, but they're obviously kind of just being on the cautious side, right? So they have no proof, so they just have some sort of evidence that could suggest some foul play, right? And so they're suggesting, okay, like let's not get this team into the tournaments. But like obviously the tournament operators could just ignore that, right? I don't think they will. I feel like they're just going to be smart about it and just avoid any sort of potential drama that they can. Obviously, this doesn't really count for regional major ranking events, because in those, tournament operators don't really have much of a say.
Have to do what Valve say.
Yeah, exactly. And who comes into the tournament, because like those invites are pretty damn set based on the rankings, right? So that's why they're still in this StarLadder CIS RMR. I mean, StarLadder isn't even part of the tournament operators partnered with ESIC, I think. So doesn't really apply to them either. But that's kind of like the explanation.
Okay, let's use this to segue into the StarLadder topic, right? We'll come back to the Guardian stuff. Don't worry about that. Lucas, I'm going to send you the StarLadder news piece that HLTV ran. And the bit I want you to scroll down to here, Lucas, we're not going to worry too much about the other details. We spoke about StarLadder last week, how good it is to have Jane and Panda and everybody. Like, we've already done all that. So we're going to focus now on what StarLadder has promised to put in place following 5 measures, all of which were proposed in the open letter. Now, valde, why don't I say these things? If any of this stands out to you as unusual, because you've been playing the top tier tournaments nonstop, right? So if any of this stands out as unusual, let me know. We will not provide data to any third party with a delay of less than 20 seconds. We will set at least 110 seconds delay on all of our GoTVs. Voice communications of all teams will be recorded for every game. Webcams of the players will capture what is happening on the player's screen. This video feed will also be recorded for every game.
That's the one.
Yeah. And the last one here, all matches of StarLadder CIS RMR will be played on FaZe platform using the FaZe anti-cheat software. So right there, valde, as someone who plays in these events online, do you think all those things like pretty reasonable?
I can tell you already, it's a lot better than the previous CIS IMR.
Yeah,
like
it's kind of the point.
It's like a joke, right? Because on the last one, correct me if I'm wrong, but they had no anti-cheat, no recorded demos. Like, what are you even doing? Like,
now
and then I remember his argument, Strike. I remember it now. It was like, because anti-cheat hadn't caught cheaters elsewhere, we're not gonna have any anti-cheat guys. Like,
Yeah,
like really like nice logic. Like, so good, bro. Like, let's just play with no anti-cheat from now on, because anti-cheat can like
sometimes
not
people
catch people, you know?
Yeah, sometimes people can avoid anti-cheat, so no anti-cheat.
Like, yes, let's just play without anti-cheat from now on. It'll be so great. Like, all these online qualifiers, it's gonna be so sick. Expect a lot of upsets, and yeah, it's gonna be fun.
This is one though where I'm normally the biggest Valve supporter, right? Like, I'm like, Valve, yeah, I can see what they're doing, the long term this, and they're moving this around, and everybody has choice, and you hear me on my soapbox every fucking second week. This is the one that I don't agree with, because Valve, right, have allowed the TO Epic League to run this, knowing there's no anti-cheat, because they had to pitch. What are you going to do, right? And the Valve requirement I would assume is no anti-cheat because they have this marvelous thing that I'm sure you're all aware of at matchmaking at home, guys. It's called VAC. And as we know, VAC is shit, right? We know that. We know that. We're not pretending. We're not pretending that VAC is good. But Valve, because that is what they have, I assume they think, yeah, it's fine, right? We have a cheating problem, but yeah, it's fine, right? That is the one thing that I disagree with.
Yeah, it would be a bit weird if Valve had like the one requirement. There has to be a third party at the cheat, guys.
Exactly.
VAC isn't enough. Like you can't.
They can't say that.
Yeah.
And that's the thing.
But
That's
to be
why they've
honest,
gotten away
like,
with it.
VAC isn't even, it's not even for the same purpose. Like, it is the same purpose of catching cheaters, but catching cheaters in matchmaking and catching cheaters in professional matches is two completely different things. Like in matchmaking, if someone cheats for 10 games and then gets banned, it doesn't really matter that much, especially because they have like VACnet, Prime, non-Prime, and all of these things where they kind of try to like push all of these people on a side in like matches that are probably going to be like fucked up. And then they maybe cheat like 5-10 games, maybe they cheat for like 2 months and then they get banned and like in a big ban wave. And in these situations, like we need people to be banned like instantly. I don't want people to like cheat like, oh, maybe like 1 or 2 tournaments or like 3 months, get to like top 5 in the world, and it's like, oh, now we're banned. Like it's not the same. It's not the same purpose, right? So that's why I think they should just acknowledge that. And
They can't. They won't. But that's the one thing they won't. That is why, right? Otherwise, with online tournaments, the way that they've gotten in recent times, like I know people hate it because it's online, and we'd all prefer to be at LAN. But the restrictions that the good TOs put in place are good. They're good restrictions, right? They're the closest thing that we can get to keeping it as fair as possible, right? But that's the one reason that I want to get back to LAN ASAP is because with these RMRs, which are under Valve's jurisdiction, we know that there's not going to be an anti-cheat. We just know that. We just know that. So, Lucas, you have something.
I mean,
this is an interesting contribution. Everybody sit up and listen. Lucas doesn't normally contribute with stuff like this.
I mean, everyone maybe have heard I run some Counter-Strike League on the side. And of course, anti-cheat is a huge problem, but we're kind of locked down into like who has an anti-cheat. FaZe has their own anti-cheat. It's locked to their platform.
Unless you pay them, right?
No, because you can't get the anti-cheat. You have to play on their platform, their system. ESL has an anti-cheat with ESEA.
ESEA, yeah.
You don't really get that. You don't really have an anti-cheat out there that you can just go out and use.
You're not using the easy anti-cheat, mate? You're not using that?
You can't even get easy anti-cheat anymore. They I think Epic Games bought them and locked it down. So it's only game, you can buy them as a game developer now. So there's no anti-cheat you can just go out and get, and so
but I mean,
what do you want?
People other than FaZe are organizing qualifiers on FaZe, so I guess there has to be a way, right?
But
but this
it's
is the
also
thing.
a partner problem.
Okay.
Can you be a partner with FaZe?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the requirements are. I'm just saying that exactly. Other tournament organizers are, organizing tournaments on FaZe, so it's possible.
Let's be honest, the FaZe and ESEA have invested a lot of money in creating their anti-cheats, right? So if other people want to try and invest and come up with the same shit that what they've done, all the power to them. But this is kind of what happens. Like this is again. Let's just get back to fucking LAN. Do we have anything else we want to say on this StarLadder thing, or keep it moving?
Just one thing. Now that you listed all those precautions or the measures that they're putting in place, the fourth one, webcams of the players will capture what is happening on the player's screen. That's the new one. I don't think we've had that before. So because it's actually they're actually supposed to capture all 5 players and of the screen. That's the big part.
That's going to be difficult. Well, that means that because they're probably going to want the requirement of the webcam facing you. Right, and they're probably going to then need a secondary webcam. So this is going to be quite the investment for some of these individuals, right? Like for the big teams like NAVI and shit, it's not going to be a problem. Or for the teams boot camping, not going to be a problem.
I think if anything, it's going to be a problem with connection. But it's obviously they can still record it on the side and not use it for like live, so it's not that big of a problem.
True. That's true.
Just send it over,
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe you can get it provided from the tournament organizer as well. For
That'd
example,
nice.
for this bootcamp, for example, we had like the webcams and the mini PCs we're using was from like the tournament organizer.
Okay.
They send those little nooks. ESL send those little nooks,
exactly,
don't they? Yeah. That's what I'm using
and
right
the webcams as well. And we had the widescreen webcam that caught like everybody's screens behind us as well. That obviously only works if you're at boot camp, but still, then you can see like everything that's going on within the room.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's it. That's hopefully like that is where we're going to see the Akuma from StarLadder and the Akuma from the Epic League, right? And obviously they're going to get a lot of heat either way, right? So it's going to be rough. As we've mentioned plenty of times, we don't have anything compelling at the moment. Just this whole ESIC scenario we just discussed before, but we'll wait and see. Okay, Guardian standing in for Trident, reuniting with Seized. Prof, tell me you're not erect about this one.
Then I'll just stay quiet. I can't say anything. I mean, it's exciting. To be like, I'm legit more excited for this than Olof Meister and FaZe. Like, I'm not even kidding you. This is more exciting to me. And to be honest, it's not like Olof Meister to FaZe is very exciting to me. I'm just happy that Guardian is getting a chance to actually play somewhere. Obviously, it's in Russian, and this last like NAVI experience in Russian didn't really go well. But I'll blame Simple for that. And obviously, Guardian was supposed to be like amazing and win the major with NAVI, but Simple fucked it all up. That's the story we're rolling with now, just so you know.
Okay.
And yeah, I don't know.
News to me.
They played only 2 maps, and Guardian didn't play like super well. Open qualifier for the RMR. So hopefully we see something better. That's the short story and the long story of Guardian and Seized.
I've watched a couple of these games from Trident in the past. Maybe I don't even know if it was Trident when I was watching, but Clax and Glowing were two names who they seemed all right. So I don't know what to expect. We know that the CIS region has a lot of talent, but yeah, he's just a stand-in, so it's probably just a temporary thing. Is anybody expecting anything different?
No, I think he's just like trying to get some match time, get back into the game a little bit more. I think it makes sense.
Let me throw this one your way, Valde. Who has who in your mind do you think has a better opportunity to return to the upper echelons of actually no, that's bad because Olof's in FaZe, so it's an unfair example. Who do you think will perform? Actually, it's still because they're not going to be versus the same level of teams. It's a shit question. Do you think Guardian in Trident is going to be any good?
Guardian or Olof? Just say.
I was going to compare, but Olof's going to be playing against the best teams in the world, and Guardian's going to be playing against middle of the pack teams.
But
so that's a shit comparison.
With much worse teammates, also.
Yeah, I think it's really hard to compare. I think I'll lean towards what the others were saying. I think it's super hard to judge when he's been out from competitive play for so long, and also the team is just at a level where. Like, are they even gonna attend any like major events or anything? I don't think so, right?
They'd have to do well at the CIS, the RMRs to like try and qualify.
And like various qualifiers and stuff.
Yeah.
And since they haven't really done that, I think there's other teams on the radar who has bigger potential.
Yeah. All right. Let's have a look here at this Blast announcement. Now, I was on the plane when this one got released, so I saw it when I landed. And I want to first of all, before we actually talk about the details here, I want to give a thank you to Blast, right, for not honeydicking every second month, for not coming out and going, we're going to do everything we can to make this next one a LAN. They've only just waited until the world is slowly starting to heal itself, right? I was just in the airport. Other than the chin strap wearing motherfuckers who don't know what the mask is actually meant to go over their nose and their mouth, we're basically in a normal time, right? Like, I was getting just as disgruntled at the motherfuckers on the airplane. The guys collecting, like getting up when they made clear announcements in English and German on the plane to not stand the fuck up until the plane has come to a complete stop and they call you row. I was getting just as mad at the dickheads standing very close to the carousel, being absolute muppets because they have no respect for anybody else around them, right? I was having all that. So I was like, well, we're back to normal life. And I've only flown a few times, right? In the last 18 months, I've only flown a handful of times. Normally, I fly like a shitload. This time, I was like, we are back to normal, right? Motherfuckers everywhere. Like, it just felt like normal life. Now, I don't want to be the guy and everyone's going, no, but SPUNJ, the safety. Yeah, safety is still the number one thing. Don't get me wrong. I'm just telling you what I saw with my own 2 eyes, okay? So, yeah, thank you to Blast for not honeydicking us time and time again. And I genuinely think that this is going to be possible for them to pull this off in Denmark. Valde, you can probably attest to this. How's the whole COVID situation in Denmark going?
I think just today, actually, there is no mask anymore. Only in airports and public transportation, as far as I know.
Okay.
And then like
Seems reasonable.
everything else, like supermarkets, stuff like that, no mask anymore. I think Monto as well told me that there is no mask in Poland anymore as well. Just overall in Denmark, I think everything is starting to open again. The bars, restaurants can have open for more hours now. I think they're also like quite far with the vaccines already. And I think it's pretty decent here, to be honest. Like, if I didn't know any better, I wouldn't know that there is like COVID in Denmark at the moment.
And I think that that right there is probably what a lot of people are feeling, especially now that Europe's heading into summer or is in summer, or I don't know how the fucking months and seasons work in the upside down part of the world up here. But it is
downside up.
Yeah, I'm standing on top of the world down there. We're taught the other way in Australia, that you guys are down the bottom. We'll see how many people believe that. So with this, right, everybody's obviously going to start getting into that lull of confidence that things are going back to normal, and kind of happened last year too. And then what happened was we had that big second wave, but we didn't have the vaccine, right? So that's the big difference maker here. Now, with this event, they want to run it in November, late November. We are now in June, right? So imagine if things just progressively get better and the anti-vaxxers fuck off, basically, and we get to 70% in all these countries, which then is apparently herd immunity, so the virus can't jump from... I'm not a scientist, okay? All right? So it can't jump from person to person. Then everything seems fine. Well, not fine, but, better, right? The 23rd and 28th for Blast, Striker, like, this one seems really likely to happen. They reckon 12,000 capacity, the full venue.
Yeah. I mean, it obviously depends on like what happens when we're in winter and how much the vaccine actually is going to make a difference. We assume it will, but who knows, right? This is still 5 months, and we know how it went last year, where we thought we were going to be okay in summer, right? Obviously, things have changed since then, so it's different circumstances. But like, obviously, I'm not gonna believe it until it happens. Until I see
You've been
people
scorned enough.
Until I see people on land, I'm just not actually gonna believe that it will happen. So I'm just going to wait until that time. But it's kind of, at least it fills you with hope that the major will happen, which is just a month before that, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much same area of the world. So, yeah, that's kind of what I have to say.
All right. You got anything on this one, Prof?
No.
I was going to try and give you something fun to do with this, but I've already gone out and made myself seem like the COVID cunts are coming for me, aren't they? All right, let's keep going. Let's keep her moving. I don't want to upset any more people. I've already upset a few. All right, we're gonna look at IEM Summer.
I thought we were gonna talk about the IP later, though.
Oh yeah,
You said
we
you
are
don't
gonna
wanna
talk
talk
about NIP. We are gonna talk about NIP. That one's gonna
Holy
be
shit.
fun. Yeah. Okay. I wanted to go on like a rant about like LAN and like what it means and shit, but
We've done that before.
I'm out of
man.
energy.
Like,
No, it's a different take. It's a bit more. It's a whole different angle.
So give us the TLDR. What's
Bro,
the take?
he thought a lot about this, you can tell.
Like when I made that tweet earlier today asking what LAN means to different people, right? Like I had a lot of like views, and a lot of people were like crowd and hype, and the fans some were saying connection and like seeing friends and that kind of stuff. And it got me thinking, like, with all these different takes, because I look at it. I know this sounds like a dick thing, but I'm still only looking at like from a player perspective as opposed to the entertainment perspective, and that big community of 15,000 people that come to the Lanxess to watch, or the 12,000 to the one in what's the one in Blast called? The Royal Arena, yeah, like or Katowice or whatever. I still kind of just look at like what it means to the players. So when I got so many different reactions that were about like the broader topic, I was like, okay, well, why does that all mean that? And I think it all filters and factors into what LAN is from the rawest form of LAN, right? It's pure, right? It's untainted. There's no question that we have right now with the Akuma situation that doesn't come into this, right? Everybody's on a level playing field. You have the same setup. You've got like the same PCs, the same monitors, the same chairs, the same desks. Like everybody's in the same hotel, right? Everything becomes level. And with that becomes a belief or a trust in that purity that I was talking about, right? That this is the pinnacle of competition. And then from that trust is why people want to watch it, right? Because they believe this is where we're going to see who's the best. We're going to separate everybody now because we all have the same conditions. And this is where you, just with your mechanical ability, your teammates around you, and the time and dedication you put into the game, can separate yourself from anybody else and prove then, right? This is where you add on the fans and all that, improve in front of 10,000 people, right, that you can do this, because when you're in front of those 10,000 people, every decision you make causes their reaction. You're in a 1-on-3, you win, you hear that roar, that exhilaration, right? You're not just winning that for your team. 10,000 people live just saw you do that. You know what? Maybe 100,000 people online saw you do it. They're not there, right? When you lose on LAN on a stage match and you feel fucking gutted, you have to go to your opponent who's smiling ear from ear because he's gleefully happy he's just taken another step in the event, and you have to shake his hand, right? And you feel like shit. So everything you do is just amplified, right? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
and that's what I think it is.
So I can tell you just as a side note, sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead.
Like, to me, in a year from now, or even when my career is over someday, like, I'll remember going out last place at Copenhagen Games more than I will remember winning Spring Sweet Spring online. Like, I already forgot about that. Do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter because it's online. Like, obviously the points matter, like the prize money matters, whatever. The wins matter in the moment. But in the long run, you're not going to remember jack shit from online. Like, LAN matters. And just like the storytelling from LAN, like all the, I don't know, like the small memories you collect is what you will remember in the long run. You won't remember anything from sitting alone home in your bedroom playing online cups. Just won't. That's facts.
Yeah,
not going to have the same impact now, but I was going to say that Chad is speaking from his extensive show match experience.
No, I'm speaking from my extremely limited experience playing smaller tier stuff, right? People like when I was in the CGS, we played in a pretty big crowd in China, and then we had like a live audience in America, even though they were paid for, or they were free because they wanted to get on TV to be on their actor reels, right? Or even like Valde's saying in terms of like a Copenhagen Games event. For me, we had like national events in Australia, and I'd go there and we had small crowds, and the crowds are made. Maybe the best one for me is the Katowice qualifier, where the people, we were in the hotel, the D'Angelo, Valde, I'm sure you know this one well, and it was the one where, and it was only really your peers, right? It was either people who were part of the press, it was either other players, it was either, and I'm still losing my shit just as much as I would have been if I ever made it to a massive stage like that, because that moment of being there and having your teammates around you in the height, and that is it, right? That's what it's all about. And this is why when we get back to LAN in its full extent, those emotions are something that nobody knows how they're going to deal with until they've been there, right? You don't. This is what we talk about, the fight or flight thing, right? This is it, because you have to do, like, you're trying to do something now, not in the comfort of your own room. I look around, there's nobody around, there's no pressure. The pressure, obviously, they put on themselves. Anyway, I think I'm dragging on a little bit here. But you
also,
guys,
like, one other thing about LAN that I feel like nobody really pointed out is like every online event is essentially the same. It's just with like different names, right? Like, I think as a player, there is no difference between winning Cologne and IEM Summer except for the name. Like, the feeling is essentially the same because you're not there holding that trophy. Like, everybody knows the Cologne trophy and the Katowice trophy. Everybody knows the arena who've been there, felt like the crowd, the stadium. Everybody knows that experience, and you just don't get that online. So winning a Cologne or Katowice, whatever, online, I'm sure the winners will probably tell you the same, is never ever going to be the same as winning it online. It's like completely different scenario.
I'm sure they love the money just as much, but yeah, the emotions and the memories, right, is what we're all about, right? The money helps, but the emotions, the memories, all that. So let's focus on some recent emotions and memories. I will move on into IEM Summer conversation. Okay, so Gambit, they won. If you guys missed it, yep, they won. Cool. But it's more that through the group stage, they didn't come through in first place in their group. They had to actually work through the lower bracket. And there was, we had Blade on the show not long ago, and he was saying that, you know, there's not really any consistent teams in this online era and whatnot, and would be surprised. Was the sentiment, Prof, that, yeah?
And Gambit heard it, and they're like, fuck this guy.
We want to win.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so Gambit kind of, when watching them, right, it almost felt like business as usual. But then in the playoffs, it felt like a bit more tenacity, a bit more spice in them. There was some more aggressive CT-sided moves. One moment in the game, I'm going, Shiro, not known to be the most aggressive AWPer. Next thing, he's going for plays and shit. Like, I kind of felt that they were out there, not with something to prove, but adding more to their playbook. Did anybody else or their repertoire, less than their playbook, right? Was anyone else getting that vibe? They were doing a little bit off script.
Yeah, but also maybe because this is not that important of an event that they could really experiment a bit more. At least I feel like that. I think that's the approach that they had. It's not like, oh, now we have to add another layer because I mean, yes, but at the same time, if this was Cologne on LAN, I don't think they'd play this way, right? I don't think they would be like changing up things from tournament to tournament just I don't know, just because, right? I think they'd push it until things really started to fall a bit more before they started to implement these kinds of just like more YOLO plays. That's what I feel, because it feels like the same team and then just like one YOLO play here and one YOLO play there, and that's it.
Okay. I'm with you there. Now, Valde, let's turn to you, because this is the first time in an official capacity that you guys played Gambit in the grand final. A great place to get your toes wet, I suppose. But what is it from your perspective that makes Gambit so good?
I think they have the complete package as a unit. They're insane individually. And as I told you before the show, like if you go into a game against Gambit, doesn't matter if it's a group stage game or a finals game, if you're not at 110% individually, like your whole team, not just like one guy, like your whole team, if you're not on top individually, you're gonna lose. Like, doesn't matter at all about tactics, what anyone is calling, like the preparation up to the game, doesn't matter at all. If you can't match them individually, you're gonna lose. So already that is like a hard game already, because as you saw in the G2 game, like for example, maybe Hunter and niko didn't have the best game, like G2 got smashed. And I don't think it would have mattered what maps they played. I think they would have lost 2-0 like anyhow. But then you get to like the decision making. I think they by far and away have the best decision making in the world right now. Feels like if you're in a X on X situation against Gambit, they always make like the optimal play. Like let's say you are two CTs outside B on dust 2, and you know Gambit has the B side. Like Gambit can fucking stay one guy at B, and then the other guy will run T spawn to long to A with a bomb. And then even though the other T dies on B side, then Shiro is like, or Exile or Hobbit is in a 1 versus 2, and he might be outnumbered. But in my opinion, this situation favors the T any day of the week. Like they always play the numbers. They don't make any stupid decisions. They pretty much play flawless, in my opinion. And I actually felt like we had some good chances to win like all of the maps. I think we were even leading on all 3 maps in the final, but I feel like it got to a point where like on, I think it was, I don't remember if it was Overpass and Mirage, I think. Like we actually got into a good lead, and then felt like we were trying to like read them too much, you know? Like I'm sure SPUNJ can attest to this as well. But sometimes you have these games where it's like everybody has really good input. You get off to a flying start, then you get a 7-0 lead, and then the ideas maybe start to get a little bit crazy, and everybody wants to make plays. Then all of a sudden it's 7-1. Maybe like another crazy idea comes in. Then it's 7-2. Then all of a sudden you're money fucked. Now you have to go eco. And then all of a sudden the half where you were leading like 8-0 or whatever exactly happened to us against Gambit as well. I think we were leading 8-1 on dust 2. And we maybe got a little bit like too crazy with the inputs and ideas. All of a sudden it's like an 8-7 half. They win CT side pistol. Now you're behind 10-8 from like a 8-1 lead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Gambit is exactly the type of team. If you like give them 1 or 2 fucking rounds, all of a sudden they will just start gaining momentum and they will start being really dangerous. That's how I see it, at least. Maybe you will like have some different opinions, but yeah, I think that's my overall thoughts.
What do you want to go with, SPUNJ?
No, go for it, bro.
Like one of the things I also feel like, I mean, when we watch them, SPUNJ, when he casts them, I think that they do like they're super easy to go on a save and play these like 3v3, 4v3, not interested. And even like I want to ask you about that one round on Dust 2. I think they already had 15. It was a 3v3. You got into the B bomb site. You planted the bomb, and it was like they literally just exit fragged you, all of you.
The no AWP, that's right.
They're
Yeah.
they're on match point. You lost the AWP, you lost the rifles. You're like 4.5k along the. How does that feel? How does it feel to play against that kind of a thing? And in that round, like, are you like, what the fuck is this bullshit? Like, can you just give us like the AWP at least?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think you already painted the picture pretty well. I think it's just that annoying factor that, like, at least let us save, you know, like at least let us save. But no, for real, like, they're a super solid team, and I respect all of them. And I think they have probably like the best work ethic on the whole scene right now. I think I've seen them on the preg group. I think they have 12-hour preg days sometimes. Like, I'm not kidding. Like,
What, of scrims?
like maybe it's like a combination of scrims and theory. But
Jesus.
I've been told they have like 12-hour practice, and even if it's not true, you can just tell from the way they play that they do a fucking good job of like playing a lot of Counter-Strike and preparing really well. Like, I don't feel like they're a team where you can just like catch them completely off guard, and the individuals are just so good, so they're always gonna have like a certain base level that they don't like fall through and go out last place at an event. You know, they're always gonna be solid, give you a hard fight. They can obviously lose games, as you saw. Like, I think they even got smashed 2-0 by Vitality this event, right?
Yeah.
But overall, I just think their base level is so solid, so they're not gonna be like a last place contender at any event. I think they're always gonna be dangerous.
I think that because it's just kind of like reminiscent of the Astralis consistency, right? They were always known for that, like never over peaking in situations, even if you're up like 8-1. Very rarely would you see them make a mistake. This is the same kind of feeling that I'm getting from Gambit. Like they
Yeah.
won't do the things that you said you were doing in like a position where you're 8-1. They're now gonna just like suddenly have three people going crazy, going for plays. You know, maybe Nafani will, just because he has that kind of a play style. He's always the guy who's in front and like kind of off to the side a bit like a Kinder, right? Just like making crazy plays a lot of the time. But like everybody else is always going to be solid. Like they're always going to be making the right plays, no matter what the score is, no matter what the situation is, almost no matter the opponent. And I think that consistency is why they're so good.
Yeah, and also Exile has been insane.
I mean, yeah, obviously,
And
like they
Hobbit
have
as
stick
well.
individuals.
Yes. And you see a lot of these rounds, like yesterday, for example, that's what I talked about, the individual level. There's so many rounds where one of them just kills 2 or 3 on like a pistol round or super important round that can swing the economy. And it's like, after the game, you can't really talk about, should we have done this? Should we have done that? Like, the preparation was off. Like, didn't we? Like, he just killed 3, end of story. Doesn't go further than that.
Yeah. I think that's like I had the lucky assessment of getting to watch it all unfold, right? With the X-ray. And I go back and I look at that game, and there's only 2 rounds on Mirage, which is a 16-14 loss, that I think that you guys probably should have won. Actually 3. The 2v1 that Axel won up connector, where he killed Man2 at the top, and then he knew I don't know how he knew, maybe I missed the info, but he knew flameZ was stuck default, and he just fucking bodies flame as well. There was that one. There was you guys
pistol
lost
round on Dust 2.
Yeah, that's where
The highlight.
Axel fucking smashed you guys from Goose. And then there was you guys only lost, I would say, like 1 super bad round on Mirage, which was the one where they had the scout. They were like on a little, like, it wasn't a force buy, it was just like a half buy, it was a low buy. And then like I think they scouted flameZ through ticket or something, and you guys ended up losing that one. And that was probably like one of the only rounds there you go, oh, okay, they probably shouldn't have got away with that. But otherwise, like, you know, everything seemed like it was a really good game. Like that Mirage, Dust 2, like really, really good. Things obviously started to get a bit out of hand once Overpass happened. The veto, like you guys must have been like, obviously it's against Gambit, but like knowing it's against Gambit and knowing that you're going to probably play them in the future some more now, like your map pool for Gambit is actually really good. You guys must be confident.
Exactly. Like, in my honest opinion, as I said earlier, I really think we had the chances to at least take maps off them. And even though it was 2-0, we were going into Overpass, which I think we have a really good win rate and we feel really confident on. So we knew, like, okay, if we can win Overpass, even though we're down 2-0, if we can win Overpass, like we started CT side, if we can get a good CT side, win Overpass, then I think we were going into Inferno, which is also really strong for us. You never know how that could go. And then you go onto Ancient as the 5th map, where like we didn't play it yet, so obviously they don't have any information on how we play. I think the final, honestly, in my opinion, would have been different if we could have won the first map. because then maybe like the confidence switches, like the whole pace of the game switches going into the second map. Maybe we have that edge that it takes to beat the best team in the world. But I gotta say, like, they've been playing together for so long now, and they're so, structured as a team. They know exactly what each other is doing. They know each other's routines and so on. And I feel like right now we're at a point where I'm really happy with the fight we brought to them. And I think in the future, when we get even more cohesive as a unit, we're gonna have the potential to beat them for sure.
You mentioned Ancient there. What do you think about Ancient? I know that like you guys obviously have been pracking it because you left it open in the veto. So what's your initial impressions?
I did a tweet one of the first days where the map came out, or maybe it was the first day when it was played, and I honestly really like the map. In my opinion, I think it's already way better than Vertigo, and I think just the fact that it reminds me of like a normal CS map, I can say it like that. Like you have a middle, and then you have like 2 bomb sites on the sides, and then you have like some fucking normal corners, and like, yeah, just reminds me of like a solid CS map. Obviously, there is room for improvement. It's still a new map. I'm sure they're gonna change something in the long run. But overall, I really enjoy the map, and I think it's very unique as well. Like it doesn't remind me of anything else, and I think that's really good as well for the whole scene, and just to have a new map in the map pool. You'll see new tactics. You'll see new one-ways, boost, all these kind of stuff. So I'm actually really hyped about it, to be honest.
Sweet, it's very
I think
refreshing.
it's a good map.
For all those things you listed is very refreshing, and the games that we've seen on it so far, most of them were pretty exciting, right? Other than the Gambit
so too.
G2 Stomp, most of them were pretty exciting.
And just the fact that it's a new map, like it's exciting to see what teams are coming up with. Like every time you see Ancient, you see like a new smoke, new execute, new spot you can play. Like there's just so much potential for improvement on the map. So I think it's gonna be awesome to, like, for example, at the major, I think it's gonna be really exciting because by then I think most teams would have probably practiced it quite a bit. And I think it's gonna be super awesome to see how it's gonna pan out.
Yeah,
The G2 A split, I think, was pretty cool when they went through the box room or whatever, through mid into CT, but with a smoke, like a delayed smoke from niko, so they could split. That was a pretty cool one. And
that
then
was one of the only rounds they won.
Yeah, that was one of the 2 rounds that they won on the T side. I also, I was kind of having the campus discussion in my head when I was watching that, and he was like, "Oh, the B side is too easy to take. You can't really hide anywhere." And then G2 went B like 10 times and just got smashed every time. And at the same time, then I was thinking, like, they're not using a lot of utility. They could smoke this. They are not mollying this spot where like Shiro. There's like the 2 cubbies on the right side towards the CT.
Triangle.
Yeah. Triangles, right? And they're the, if someone's good with an op, you can really get off with multi kills quite easily. Now, like, why aren't they molotoving that? That's like, they should probably do that. You can't play like this. And then I watch Gambit come on the T side. They do the exact same thing, just kill everyone and win the round. And I'm like, maybe you don't have to molotov that. Maybe you just have to kill him. So I don't know, but it's definitely fun to watch. Even if it is a stomp, you still see some new things.
I like the way that Gambit were playing the A bomb side with Axar like quite hiding, and then he pulled the guy over from A connector to help support and shit. Anyway, I could talk about Ancient for the next fucking 3 hours. Maybe we don't do that. Striker, your favorite team G2. I know they're not your favorite team. I know they're not your favorite team. I'm setting you up for failure with this one.
You're setting me up pretty hard.
I tried to your bro. Now it's your turn.
but G2, right? As Prof's got it written here for me, how did G2 fool us again? Did G2 fool you? Did you think they were on for a finals berth?
I'm trying to remember what I even said. Like, I don't even remember what I thought.
You weren't on
like,
the show last week.
Okay. That's why. I was like, what the fuck was I even thinking? I don't even remember like thinking whether G2 could do it or not. But like the facts are the facts, which is that G2 hadn't won anything in a long time, which is kind of like the one thing that people should put a little bit more stock into, right? If somebody hasn't been winning, like there's probably some reason for that. And until they do, you shouldn't put them in favorites. And the fact that 6 out of 8 people in the cast picked G2 to win the event, by the way.
I didn't. I said OG was.
I know. Everybody apart from you and Machine, right? Machine
Yep.
picked Gambit. You picked OG, and
Walking
everybody
that
else.
chat down, actually. Holy shit.
And
I
everybody
started to
else.
believe.
Yeah. You guys haven't won anything, obviously, as well. At least not big, right? So there's the same logic there.
Yeah,
But
thanks
at least he was
Bring sweet bring too doesn't
at least he was
count,
closer, right? At least he got a finalist,
really
right?
nice.
But
Last time on this podcast.
but yeah, I think the fact that like I'm not even sure what made everybody so hyped. Like, yes, they were playing well, but it's not like they were like Gambit level, you know? It's not like they should have just gone into the Gambit series and just wiped them out, right? Like, we still expected Gambit to win that series, I think, most of us anyway. So yeah, they didn't fool me. I thought they would at least put up a fight against Gambit. I really didn't think they were just gonna get stomped like this.
Well,
But
let's
I
point
still
fingers
thought
at
they were
Prof.
gonna have a hard time.
Let's point fingers at Prof then, Striker. Prof, why did they fool you?
I mean, I think you were on the show. You were also leaning almost G2 in the G2 Gambit hypothetical match that we are discussing on that show. But
Fuck,
just
there's video evidence.
there's probably video evidence. We need to delete it fast. I mean, it was just like that tradition. I'm not thinking, oh, G2 is the favorite to win this event. It's super obvious. I just thought like, they're like things are starting to fit. You know, this is coming into play. Like Amon Exalping is pretty good. Hunter is playing insane. Niko is like finding a role that fits for the team, and the team doesn't suffer from it, right? Jax is doing his job. Like everything's looking quite well, you know. And Gambit is like, okay, nothing special. It's just like Gambit level. Then they came into the playoffs and didn't drop a map. So I was thinking there's a chance. Like if not now, when, right? And thinking like, this tournament isn't that important for Gambit. You know, they can sneak a win. Then they go to the final against OG. Then I think like they can take it, especially if they beat Gambit before. They should probably beat OG in the final. That's kind of how I was thinking about it. And then it turned out that it was just a practice event, right? So it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, look, in the post-game interviews, right, it's a difficult spot for people to be in, right? We had Malik on the show not long ago. And I actually think that if we're going to be honest, right, going into this event meant a lot of different things for a lot of different teams, right? Definitely so. There's the win meant more for others than it wasn't an equal tournament for everybody, right? It's not a Cologne. It's not a major. Everyone's not going in with that same. Everybody wants to win, but maybe at different levels, right? So the sentiment of what Malik was saying, he made a follow-up tweet. I don't even remember the gist of it, but I think it was kind of to dispel that post-game interview sentiment. So I don't know. Do we want to spend time talking about that?
No, I mean, I just want to say that he got a lot of flack for saying essentially what we were saying on the show for the last 2 weeks, that this is
it shouldn't have been a practice tournament for G2 though, right?
Yeah, maybe, but also they have 2 more tournaments coming up, right?
Yeah.
And they just
They're
arrived.
Blast and Cologne, right?
Yeah, they just arrived at the boot camp before the playoffs, played 1 game, got banged out, but they'll stay and boot camp for Blast as well.
I think like as G2, you can never be unhappy with semifinals, but you can maybe be unhappy with the way you lost, right?
Yeah, that's the part that annoyed me. Like I really, it's like Saturday evening. What can I do? A lot of opportunities, a lot of possibilities, right? And I'm like, I'll just watch G2 Gambit, and it turns out to be a pretty shit match. So I was very disappointed.
It didn't deliver. It was a flop. I think that's probably the best way to look at that one there. Valde, I don't want to give you another super hard one again, so I'll kind of soften you up with this one. So obviously you said, you know, there's no shame in losing to the best team in the world, right? And especially for you guys after the bounce back from Flashpoint, right? We got that context for you. For G2, you've just mentioned that it's the way they lost. Do you think coming in cold in the semis, you guys have to do the same thing? Do you think that may have played a factor because they were at home and then they moved to a boot camp? Do you think that may have influenced their semi-final showing?
Like overall, in terms of the result, no. Like I think they still would have lost, but I do think it's a long time between like group stage and semifinals for us, at least. Like I think we played our last game on Sunday, then we had our next game on Saturday, right?
Yep.
So it's like 5 full days off, and I wouldn't say like maybe you lose a little bit of your form, but it's just that like when you get into the flow of playing official games, I think you really take it with you, if you play good at least, into the next games. And then it's really hard to have like a full reset where you just have to sit by on the sidelines, watch other people play, and you can only practice and just sit in the practice room and doing nothing, if you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
it's tough, and I think 5 days might be a little bit too much. If it was on LAN, maybe it's a different thing, because then you can like physically see the other teams play. You can maybe hear them as well. But yeah, online, I think a whole week off is a little bit too much, in my like own honest opinion.
Okay. Yeah, that's like, especially for me with the changing of environment, like moving to the boot camp, and then the first official you play, right, is from that boot camp, and it's a semi-final against Gambit. Like, it's like, oh, okay, right. A lot has just changed in the span of those 5 days. So yeah, look, I don't hate the decision, because they're going to be practicing for these next few events, so it makes sense of it. And they maybe just completely blow all that out of the water in the next one here. They do have Blast starting tomorrow, and that's where we want to pivot next. Do we have anything else we want to mention with the IEM Summer playoffs? I don't really want to talk about the Intel Grand Slam stuff. I think we can leave that.
Okay.
Yeah, like it's just another notch for Gambit, right? And then I don't think nobody's super close. Everybody needs at least one more before they can.
Yeah, I mean,
get across the line.
Cologne will say a lot. Like, it depends who wins Cologne, then we can really come close, right?
Yeah.
Navi, Gambit, and Astralis are 2 on 2 now. And Astralis need Cologne and Pro League to win. That's their only chance.
Which is not going to happen.
Very unlikely.
Unless Valde joins.
I literally don't think any team can win both Cologne and Pro League. Like, the chances for the same team to win both of these tournaments is like insanely small. Not just because it's like 2 big tournaments. It's 2 big tournaments with a player break between, and they're like very long tournaments with a shitloads of teams. I think it's very unlikely that we see the same winner.
Player break will play a factor, right?
And always, like, I feel like, yeah, I kind of agree with Professor. Always after a player break, I feel like it's a new team winning, right?
Yeah.
Usually it goes like that, at least.
Probably the one that didn't take the break. That seems to be a factor
Probably
as well.
sounds like Gambit, but yeah.
Well, then maybe Gambit can do it. But all right,
can.
Let's move into the Blast conversation. Where are we at here? Let me bring it up so that I can give Lucas a little linky. Lucas, here you go, mate. So we spoke about it a little bit last week, but we didn't sink our teeth into it. So Blast is going to be going down tomorrow. It's a double elimination bracket with the top 8 teams through the showdown, teams through the group stages. We've got Gambit, the world number 1, NAVI in there as well. So that's gonna be nice. Hopefully we get to see that matchup. Some more G2 with just talking about them with the bounce back big. We never really know where they're at. According to Hampus, they need to get favored in places in Taras. NIP. NIP, Complexity, EG, and FaZe. All right. Let's start with the NIP one, and then we'll go to the Gambit one. All right.
What's the reason? Like, what's the beef? You gotta fill me in.
I don't have any beef. It was not even my
okay.
beef. I've just got involved in someone else's beef. I don't even really give a fuck. But like, it just shits me. This is the bit that shits me. Okay. So, or Striker, which one of you wants to bring us up to speed?
I'll do it just quickly. Essentially, there's a tweet from a guy from NIP that I didn't know from before. I just saw it because he tagged HLTV Confirmed, or maybe us individually. I don't know.
He needs to work on his English, I think.
And then made like a thread where he started saying something about HLTV Confirmed and us not understanding how
stuck in 2015.
Stuck in 2015. Don't understand the NIP system, which is like normal. But most teams don't do it at the same time. So is it normal, or is it? I don't know. It was like, and then a whole thread about like EG not going out of CSGO because whatever, and that we should. I don't know. And it was just like it kind of built on the beef that Yanko had with the COO of NIP, because Yanko said that he doesn't believe what they said about certain things. And his argument, the response was like, essentially like, you have to trust us. Whatever we say, that is the truth. Which to which Yanko just replied like, no, fuck off, lol. And that was the kind of sentiment that I repeated. And then I replied to the guy that, especially on this show, like, we have always been in favor of NIP system. Like,
we love it.
from the first, like even when Liquor was removed, you were like, weird, but we support it. If you think that, like, go for it. So it didn't even make any sense. Like, completely missed the football, as we say in Croatia, right? So and then I was like, okay, I'll just like be nice about this and like tell the guy like this is probably a misunderstanding. It doesn't make sense. And then Chad came into action, and yeah, that's the story changed.
Okay, so this gentleman who works at product at NIP, right, was the one who is doing the list of tweets that Prost's talking about here, and right, the bit that confuses me a lot is the press release statement from NIP about this whole LNZ situation. I don't know Janko's exact take, right, but it was kind of there's like there must be more to the situation. How do you just remove ZTR after coming second place at Flashpoint? And then bring in a new guy. And we'd heard from Hampus. We spoke to Hampus on the show, who was kind of a bigger critic of, without being a critic, but like just the things he was saying and how he'd never spoke to LNZ before. And then the next day he's playing with the guy, right? Like all these things happening, and he's just a soldier, right? Like he's just playing for the team. He's the in-game leader, and he does what the bosses say, right? Which can be very jarring, especially for an in-game leader, I imagine. So, right, like I guess Janko's speculation was that maybe there's more, right, about the ZTR situation, or because what they had said was in their press release, and I should probably bring it up, but because this is just a discussion and I'm not actually a journalist, guess what? I'm going to continue having a fucking discussion. So as far as I remember it, which you can all go and read it on the internet if you'd like, it was something along the lines of LNZ had done a good job in the young ninjas, and he'd been promoted to the starting roster, right, to show what he's got, which is right. That's fair and fine. But the thing is, that's not true, right? Like, I made a little.
This is this information is
I
coming
have this
from
on
you,
good.
so...
I have this on good authority, right? Like I have this on good authority, right? That what was meant to happen before IEM Summer, but NIP's ineptness of updating their roster meant that ZTR stayed on the team and LNZ was already the 6th. So what they wanted to do was add Nilo, the 16-year-old, who's also on the Young Ninjas, and have him play, right? That's what they wanted to do. But because they didn't do it in time, they weren't able to. So they weren't able to make that change. So that's why right now, when you look at what Blast's roster is, what NIP's roster is for Blast, we don't know. Like, we'll find out tomorrow if it's Nilo or if it's, I don't even know if I'm saying his name right, or if it's LNZ. Right. But the thing is, like, and this is the problem. Like, me doing that is just to point out this fucking nonsense from these NIP guys who are coming out and saying that we shouldn't speculate. My literal job is to speculate on the available information, you fucking numbskull, right? Unless you put it out there, I'm not coming to you, bro. Why am I coming to you? It is your job to put out the information. If you put out vague information, which is the positive thumbs up PR tweets, fucking the nonsense articles, right? You're not actually being truth. Well, you're being your version of truth, which is fine. We all have our own different versions of truth.
That's the thing. Like, everyone is doing that. Everyone wants to make themselves look better than they are. But it's just like, that's completely normal. But I just don't have to believe it, right?
Yeah, we don't have to believe what you wrote down, right? What you wrote, right? We've actually been, right? And that fucking motherfucker in the product tweet, right? Had a jab about the EG shit, right? Had a jab about the EG shit, saying people have been saying EG have been leaving Counter-Strike for that was me who said that. And you know where I got that information from? From somebody who was on the team at the time, because EG stalled out the contract negotiations and they weren't hearing anything. That's from somebody who was on EG at the time that I said that. Right? So you think that I just said that for no reason? Yeah, EG, I think EG are leaving Counter-Strike. I had it from somebody who was on the team who said that there was stalled out contract negotiations at the time. Like, I never come out and say that shit. When do people ever hear me saying that shit? I don't come out and spread fucking rumors. I'm not one of those motherfuckers. I have no need to do that. That's not what I do. I don't get the backroom conversations. I have no need for that. What does it do for me? I'm not a fucking... like, what the fuck? So it's like, when I read all that shit, and it's like, oh, have us on HLTV Confirmed. We'll have a chat. Yeah, let's give you more PR because you're shit at doing it on your own fucking channels. How about you fuck off, right? Put the clear information out there, and then we can form the opinion you want. If you don't put the clear information out there, we'll form whatever fucking opinion we want. That's the way this works.
Yeah, legit, like 5 days after their player was on the show and couldn't comment on all of these things because this is not my job to comment on these things. Like, what do you want me to do? It doesn't make any sense. So
Anyway,
at the time, Hampus said, I was following the show, and at the time, Hampus said that as far as he knows, LNZ will play, right? But he kind of put it in a way that, like, it could easily change tomorrow. Like, we don't know.
Like, just from a player perspective, I feel like that's really bad. Like, if you are Hampus, like, if you don't even know who you're playing with next week, like, I'm not trying to take sides, trying, like, from an objective standpoint of a player, that seems like a really bad environment for improvement.
Yeah,
can
I
say it
mean,
like that.
he
Like
even
how are
stu-
you gonna improve if you change players every week?
They
he
never
even-
practiced with it.
Yeah,
We kind of felt like that in the video as well, because we faced NIP in the opener of IEM. It's like, I kind of agree with, I think it was Chad's point, that if you had a really good result at Flashpoint, I maybe agree with the overall decision, but I disagree with the timing. Like, why are you changing a player if you don't even have time to practice with the new one, right? Like, I think it would have benefited them just to play with CTR for the next event, because he's like into the strats, probably like knows somewhat the playstyle they're playing. Maybe they can ride momentum just from coming off a good result. They have some confidence. Yeah. So I'm not trying to say whether it was right or wrong making the roster move itself, but I feel like the timing was pretty poor, in my opinion.
I think this is where, like, for me, I put it in the same boat as the Vitality thing, right? Getting rid of RPK and just bringing in the new boy Kyojin. It's like a future. They're planning for the future, right? And they have all these kids who they can try from their academy team, and I get that from a standpoint. And I also understand, like we said before, IEM Summer wasn't the most important event for all the teams, probably not for NIP. So if they were going to do it, I can see the justification in the logic, right?
Yeah.
That makes sense. But like, why not just come out and, like, wouldn't you then, if you wanted that to be known, wouldn't you just say that, as opposed to LNZ, he's been doing a fantastic job in the academy team, we're going to promote him to the main squad? Like, ZTR, we all know his stats weren't great. Like, we can all fucking read. Like, he was playing a role and he was doing it okay, but that's it. You wanted an upgrade. You wanted a better player.
I just feel sorry for Hampus, bro. I remember when we played with Mixwell as a stand-in for DreamHack Valencia in North, and it's like Ave and MSL literally have to take timeouts every second round to just explain him like what we're doing. Do you know what I mean? Like, how are you fucking supposed
Didn't you
to
win that
call?
event?
Yes, we won it, but like, but my point still stands. Like,
Sure.
if you don't have a player that is into the system, like even the spot names or like strat names or whatever, it's like, yo boys, we're doing G2, and then it's like, wait, fuck, I gotta explain it to this fifth guy. It's like, bro, you're not gonna win against good teams.
I mean, I think
I don't think so, at least.
the way I look at it, I think it kind of speaks to how convinced they were that ZTR was just not the guy that they wanted. Because if there was still some, if there was still some doubt whether he can do it, whether he can't, maybe they would still give him some time, at least until the break, right? At least until they have some time, to kind of like reevaluate and figure out who they want to get into the team next and stuff like that. And they wouldn't do it in between tournaments. But I think they were just like very convinced that ZTR just needed some more time. However they put it, I actually believe that part. Where they said that he just needs more time in an academy roster. Just kind of makes sense, right? He just needs more time on a lower level. He's not ready for the top tier, right? That's how it looked like to me, even from looking at the guy, on player cameras and stuff like that. He was just generally very overhyped and like clearly not ready for this level, right? So that just makes sense to me. So the way I look at it is that they just wanted to use IEM Summer as like an event that doesn't really matter too much, right? Because they have two more coming in terms of Blast and then Cologne.
Yeah.
So it kind of like they probably just wanted to have Summer as kind of like a practice event, just get the guy into the system a little bit more, and then when the more important events come, he's a bit more ready.
It's going to be interesting to see how it continues, right? Because like as to your point, Valde, about spot names, Hampus said something along. Prof, correct me if I'm wrong, but he said something along the lines of like there was a couple of smokes he didn't know, so like he had to change the strats that they wanted to run.
Yeah. Like on
how are you supposed to win against tier 1 teams?
Exactly.
Like, that's why I said I feel a little bit sorry for Hampus, because he actually seems like a great guy, and I think he's actually doing a good job in an IP. I just think when you're a new team, like you even brought in Device recently, like have some stability, like trust the process, and like fucking just slowly improve as a team. Like, I'm not trying to pretend like to fucking give them advice. They obviously know what they're doing, and I'm not trying to pretend like I know what's best for them as a team. again, from a pure player perspective, I feel like you need some stability if you want to improve.
I mean,
Yeah.
if this was the final piece, then I'd be all for it. But we all know it isn't, right? And it's not even, maybe not even the final academy piece that they put in as their fifth. But this isn't like Crims coming into NIP. This isn't like, okay, now we have a set roster for the next 6 months for sure. This is still a temporary solution that could, like, during the player break, they could say, "Oh, let's change again," right? Because who knows if this is going to work. So from that perspective, I understand it. Even though generally I don't mind the change, but it will be super funny if it turns out that they now have a different player for Blast. That's going to be.
It would be pretty. Look, I think they will.
You want to make a bet?
No, I don't want to make a bet about it.
Ah, okay.
Just because, just out of spite, they might as well just play with LNZ at this
Yeah,
event,
just
to
to
say,
spite me.
just to
100%.
spite you. I just like to get away from that narrative, right? Just to make sure that they prove you wrong before they make
To
this
be
change
honest,
that
they
they
also
want,
might
right?
continue him just because they already played with him. So maybe they learned something, but maybe not. Who knows?
Yeah,
maybe something changed. But I could just imagine, because like the PR from them changing players immediately after the first event, where they didn't even get to play practice with LNZ, and with the tweet that came from you,
But they
obviously,
can
with this
actually
kind of
play.
information,
They can play six man at Blast, right?
that's true. They can.
I guess they
Maybe
could.
that could be the way out.
That's
Just
their
like
way
stop
out.
it-
Yeah,
stop
we
it
wanted
the
to do
blow.
this anyway. We wanted to do this for IEM Summer, which maybe they did.
They could have
maybe
done.
they did.
They could have done it for IEM Summer as well, by the way. I think. Oh,
Yeah.
actually, no, never mind. Not because of the. Well, with your
They
information,
didn't have him. They didn't have him on the team. He wasn't registered in time.
not with the information that you said, right? But according to them, they could have technically
So-
had 7 players with
Cop this.
both, right?
They could have. But they. Well, I don't know if you can have 7 players. I think you can only have 6.
6 only. Okay.
But I don't know. I'd have to get the
Well,
rule book out.
it could be
But-
6, right? If it was minus ETR plus Lonzy plus Nilo, right?
But imagine how mental it would go. Okay, so not only did they play with LNZ, who they hadn't practiced with, imagine if they did add Nilo. I don't know how to say his name. Someone will let me know. Nilo. He's 16 or some shit. He's from the young
Nilo,
Nilo, whatever. But imagine if they had him and then they played a 6-man rotating roster with 2 guys that they had never practiced with before. Like, imagine the level of insanity that would have been.
Essentially, it sounds like my FaZe stack. It's
There
like
you go.
one guy goes out. It's like, do we have anyone? This guy's online. Let's go. Come and hop on the win streak. It's not the win streak. You're losing. Everyone's tilted. You lose again. Like, thanks for the game. The guy who plays one game, we're out of the tournament. That's it. That's how it would feel.
Oh dear.
Now we're just bagging on NIP for no reason. Like, this literally came out of nowhere.
Oh,
from biggest fans to biggest haters.
yeah, I don't know what, like, but that's the thing. Like, what was with the critique of like us not doing our jobs properly when our job is just to discuss what the public information is. That's the one thing that I really got caught up on. I don't want to get.
I think the guy just had a point about like people not really buying into this sort of a system, but like he didn't realize we are not actually some of those people, and he just started out the wrong way, saying like we're stuck in 2015. I think that's how
I wish I was in 2015.
The bit that irks
6
me,
years younger.
The bit that gets me as well is when any motherfucker references traditional sports. Like, are we a traditional sport? No. Okay. Do we want to copy what people did with everything just because you guys think it makes money on traditional TV with selling your old models that existed and probably won't be as successful going forward unless you're going to model just football? Like, okay, cool. Let us be stuck in the antiquated ways and not actually do things which quite clearly by the developer of the fucking game don't want it to completely end up that way because they have the players retaining the points. And if you make roster changes, it heavily affects how many points you have to qualify for their event, which is essentially the World Cup. Yeah, we're the fucking morons who are the ones, not understanding the climate that we're in. You fucking knob jockey. Anyway, Gambit versus NAVI, because I don't think anybody else in this entire event has a chance of winning other than Gambit or NAVI. Does anybody disagree with that sentence?
You don't believe in G2?
I don't believe in G2. I don't believe in Big. I don't believe in NIP. We don't even know their roster. I think for Complexity and Big, if these guys bomb out of both Cologne and this Blast event, they have to be considering roster changes. I'm surprised EG did so well at IEM Summer, so I'll give them a little while longer. And FaZe, who the fuck knows?
Imagine if it's like one of those things when FaZe just changed the roster and all of a sudden they're just like win the next event again.
I'll tell you exactly
like
what's going to happen with FaZe. FaZe are going to like upset NAVI, who are going to go down to the lower bracket and meet Gambit in the final. And FaZe is going to get like upper bracket. They're gonna beat Navi. They're gonna beat like G2 big somehow, and then they're gonna lose. They're gonna finish like 4th or 5th or whatever, and people are gonna be Olofmeister. This is the savior. He's
return.
back. The king is back. Sweden, everything's the best. IKEA, I don't know, some shit.
Swedish meatballs, everything.
Swedish meatballs.
The whole works. The whole
And
shebang.
then it's of course not going to repeat, and then people are going to be. But do you remember Olofmeister at Blast? He was so good.
Oh dear, I don't know what's a better joke. That prof or someone in chat who said, Spunj, at least say OG. Valde's sitting right there. Valde, I don't know if the guy is aware, but you're not playing in this tournament.
But you might as well win.
But you might as well win. No, but honestly, Valde, who do you like? Do you think it's that? Do you think it's a 2-horse race with Navi and Gambit, or do you think that somebody else could upset either of these two names?
Nah, I kind of agree with you guys. I think it's Navi or Gambit. If I had to pick a dark horse, I think it's G2.
Okay.
I actually agree with that though.
Like, if I had to pick one, I'm not saying it'll happen.
Look, I think it makes sense just because they're also on the Navi side of the bracket, and it's not like Navi are the most consistent team in the world, and G2
true.
have been doing okay. It's not like they've been terrible. They just got banged out by Gambit. Like who hasn't, right? So it's not like we've been banging on G2 being like super bad or anything. They've still been looking up. It's just they haven't really been winning, right? Like tournaments at least.
True.
So that's kind of like why I see that G2 that being like the dark horse type thing. I think they could go to like the upper final from the bottom side of the bracket.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna say they're gonna win the event. We saw what happened when they lost to Gambit, and they're gonna meet them again if they go that far. So
yeah.
Valde, what do you think about complexity? They have 2 Danes. That's the backbone of the team, right? What is going on there?
I'm actually not sure, bro.
You must. You're probably talking to config. I see you always having meetings with the MSO. I know the place.
They go for
we
walks.
used to live nearby. Yeah, we used to live nearby, but I just moved actually, like far away from him. No.
Too far.
I don't know, man. I think last year I felt like they had a lot of potential, and I think they still do. But I have the same feeling as I do with FaZe, that like something is wrong within the team, and I'm not really sure what it is. But I feel like individually, I think they're a really scary team. They have so many people who can go up and carry the game, but for some reason they're just not winning, you know. And I think that complexity as a team as well, that plays a lot on confidence. Like people like Poison, Config, JKS probably as well. I think if they're feeling confident, they can beat anyone in the world, in my opinion. But if they're not, then I don't know. I think they just have a hard time. I don't have a lot of inside information on the team actually, so it's not like I can give you some like super sick. I'm actually not sure. So
what about their approach to the game? Like, because like a lot of people critique flameZ, and I make jokes, right, about like his style as an in-game leader and stuff. But do you think that their approach to the game, especially like the role overlaps, they brought in JKS, who I actually thought would fit the team quite well as a bomb site anchor, but they may be missing a little bit on their T sides in terms of being able to go for entries if Poison and Config aren't on, right? Which we kind of hope is the most.
Enough.
Yeah, it should be.
With Rush as well. Like,
yeah, that actually should be enough, shouldn't it? I don't know then. Well, that's the thing. I'm struggling to see where the issue is, and I don't know. I don't know why it's not working. Like, it looks like a good team. You're right. It's very scary on paper.
I think as well, like faith in each other has a lot to say, in my opinion, as we spoke about earlier. Like if anybody on the team, even one guy, starts questioning the whole thing, like whether it's the in-game leader, the play style, the roles you're playing, I think you just gotta speak up and like fucking man up and go talk with your team, because like if not, I think it's like the certain way to failure. Like you're not gonna improve if people on the team is not believing in the fucking project. You know? So if that's the case, that some of them is like questioning whether or not they should like make roster changes or whatever, then I feel like that's the reason why they're not performing to the best of their ability.
To be honest, like, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Like one thing that if we think about complexity and their success, they also were like a super hardcore playing, practicing team, like a lot of preparation, a lot of deathmatch, at least blame F. But I feel like most of the team they're just like practicing very hard, and I think that when those things, when it works out, when they get the results, then that's going to be okay. I think you can live with that. But then if things don't go that well, that is hard to maybe just to live with that, you know. If you have like a drill sergeant like flameZ,
I feel like a lot of teams, like it's so easy to be like when you're winning, like every team is gonna function when you're winning, like because there's no issues, and if there is, people see through it because you're winning, right? Like I feel like a team shows its true face when you lose, because it's when you're losing that you learn about each other, how you're coping with it, like team chemistry, all right. Do you actually feel like people can be genuine and honest with each other? And I feel like if not, then you should probably have a real good look at like who your teammates are and like the team you're on.
I think that what you're saying here is important in like every walk of life, unfortunately, to get a little bit personal for everybody at home, right? Like in the sense of before with the interpersonal stuff, like if resentment builds in any important relationship in your life, right, it's going to fester and it's going to cause issues, right? So that's the one thing that talking and having those open conversations, which are difficult, guys at home and girls, you know, they're difficult conversations, guys, but we need to have them, all right? Before I go full Dr. Phil, what have we got left here to talk about as far as Blast is concerned? We joked about G2. There's not a whole lot we can really say about Big, right? Like what can we? You guys just beat Big the other day, right?
What do you in the spring? Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think, like, because Big last year they had their moments, right? They definitely had their moments, but what do you think's holding it back? Hampus on last week's show said that he thinks the communication with Zentaris and the rest of the team could be a bit of an issue.
It might be. I'm actually not too sure how much he has improved language-wise. Yeah, I think it might help them getting a last player, and I think a guy like Faven could probably be good enough individually, and it might make sense from just the fact that I feel like if you're a whole team that's gonna change your language because of one guy, then that guy gotta be really fucking good, right? And in my opinion, Zentaris is really fucking good, but if they're not winning trophies, you gotta start looking. I'm not saying it's his fault, like not at all. I'm just saying that obviously you gotta have a look at how your team is composed, right? And yeah, it's hard for me to say what exactly is holding Big back. I think they have the potential to go far in tournaments, but right now they're just missing that last bit that's gonna get them far, and I'm not really sure what it is.
I might maybe being a bit harsh here, Striker. They're still, what are they, 9th in the world? Or yeah, they're still 9th in the world.
Yeah, I think that's like kind of a mystery as well. So
how they're 9th?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. Okay, so Blast kicks off tomorrow. You guys know where to check that one out. Let me get the URL. I forget the Blast one. Oh, they're on YouTube. That'd be nice for all of you. You guys can stop bitching and moaning the fact that ESL events are only on Twitch because you're entitled motherfuckers who think that free viewership should be however you want it to be. Anyway, before I get stuck into that, let's shift the focus here. Anything else for Blast before I close it down?
Not really. That's
Going once. Going twice. Okay, moving into playtime. Lucas, play the bumper. All right, we're back and we're about to prep Valde about the Parry Match Matchmaker game live. Do we have the links? Okay, I'll fill. I'm juggling right now. This is what we do on the desk when production go, shit's fucked up right here. The graphics machine has died, and then we have to talk a lot. Now it's done. I know I've heard the link. So Valde, you should have a link from Lucas. I'm assuming he messaged it to you. So your link you can select right on. We're gonna. Oh, you should have done something with Danish in-game leaders prop. I had this thought. Anyway,
I thought about like the weapon balance thing. Maybe that's like an angle so that we can explore starting with this. But yeah, that was legit also. So okay, weapon balance theme today. So on the left, we have Deagle, CZ75, FAMAS, M4A1S, and the MP9. And then on the right side is the descriptive terms that we want you to match them up with, Valde, is perfect, complete overhaul, change price, needs nerf, needs buff. Now, you don't have to select one for one. If you want to do multiple, you can. So you just click and talk us through your logic here.
Okay. First thing on my screen is the deagle. In my opinion, it needs a nerf, but only from like the close range damage. If you're like spamming it to the body, I think it does way too much damage. I think if you're close range and you hit anyone in the middle, I think it's a 2-shot kill, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure
like
it is.
anywhere in the body.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
And I
like
think that's a little
think-
bit overpowered.
Yeah.
it's not to the chest, right? It's to the stomach and the groin region.
Lower regions.
Yes.
Yeah, so
So
I'm
if it-
gonna go for like needs nerf.
Okay.
Because I feel like the deagle is like a pure skill weapon in my opinion. Like it's for headshots, and if you can just sit and spam it close range in a smoke or whatever, I feel like that's a little bit too strong.
Would it
Yeah.
be just if they just made it so it was 3 shots the same as it is to the chest, that would fix it for you?
I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't think it's like fully broken. I could also just say perfect, but I feel like it could use a slight nerf actually. And I think we've seen a lot of people use the deagle recently. And a lot of force buys are being won because of
Yeah.
that fact that you can just spam it close range.
I think like 2 arguments, if I can just add on, for why I think this exact thing needs to be adjusted. One is that almost all of the other pistols became obsolete. Like you only buy the P250 here and there when you have like very low cash,
Yes.
but the CZ57 is kind of useless because like why do you want to spam like 4 or 5 bullets in the body from the 5.7 when you can do 2 or 3 with the deagle, and also you have all of the other bonuses of the deagle, long range and all of that. So that doesn't make sense. And also the skill aspect, which you also mentioned. I have a clip that I don't want to link it now, but essentially Device is behind 2 guys that are, and he has a deagle and he has an op and a deagle, and he takes the deagle and just like body spams them. So he doesn't use the op, he doesn't like go for headshots with the deagle, he body spams them with the deagle because that's actually the best way to use the gun. And it's against what the deagle should be if you're like a deagle purist, I think.
Yeah, I can see that. All right, cool.
I think the CC is the next one for me. I think that's perfect.
Really?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Like in my opinion, like it's good in the spots where you want it to be, and it's bad in the spots where you want it to be. And the reload time and the draw time is pretty long. So in my opinion, I have a hard time seeing what they should do about it to make it like. Do you think it's like underpowered or what?
I just think the kill reward at $100 is a bit fucking
Okay, yeah.
stiff.
Maybe I didn't think about the kill reward. Yeah, that could maybe be a 300. So I guess is that the change price then, or what?
I mean, we can do that as well, but maybe you can just put perfect, or I don't know.
Okay.
Change price, I would presume people will understand as
Okay,
the
like
price of the gun.
Yeah,
right?
the price of the gun. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, it's perfect, but I kind of agree with Chat that you could make the kill reward 300. I think
Yeah.
that would be fair.
Or maybe like, yeah.
Okay, nice.
The FAMAS, I feel like that could need some buff. I actually think I tweeted about this previous as well. I think like why do you have the burst function if no one is using it? I don't get it. Like
True.
if there should be at least like maybe make it, I don't know, a little bit faster when it's bursting, maybe make it like super accurate. I just feel like if you have a mechanism on a gun that literally no one is using, why is it even there in the first place? You know, like at least with the Glocks, sometimes it can make sense if you're like jump shotting or whatever. But with the FAMAS, I just get the feeling that it's like completely useless, right? So in my opinion, it could use a buff. Not exactly sure what you should do with it, but I feel like it needs a buff.
It would become like the go-to anti-eco option, like if just for using it already is at range, right? But like if you could hold now against a little bit more confidently, if the burst fire was better at range, like down long, for example.
Yeah.
Like the source at 1.6 burst fire on the FAMAS was a lot better than this one, and I don't know why they fucking broke this one so bad. But you're right, it's strange to have it and then not even get it used at all.
Yeah. The next one for me is the M41S. Oh, I'm not too sure about this one. I feel like this is a gun. If you like change it, there is a very big chance that it becomes like broken again, you know? Because back in the days where it was like the firing speed was really high and
I
people
loved it.
didn't know where they were getting killed from, I feel like that's too overpowered. So I really feel like you got to be careful with changing the gun too much, because then all of a sudden people are going to stop using the M4, like the M4A4. So in my opinion, right now, I think it's perfect, but just you don't see a lot of people using it. I think Honda, Niko, and Tapson.
Some of the
players that
Vitality
come to
guys.
mind.
Some of the I think we've seen Zywick,
Yeah,
Kyojin, especially.
Kyojin
He's
is using
loving
it.
it.
Yeah, he's loving it, and I feel like those people are actually good with the weapon, and the rest are using like normal M4s. So, in my opinion, it's kind of perfect right now. I mean, at least I don't have a suggestion of what you should do with it. So, yeah, don't know.
All right, and the MP9, everyone's favorite.
Yeah. In my opinion, the MP9 is actually. I think the gun itself is fine, but I think you could increase the price a little bit to maybe 1,400. I think it's 1,250 if I'm not mistaken right now. I just feel like if you have 2K or like 2,200 and you're force buying MP9s over deagles is way better in my opinion. You can actually snipe people long range with the MP9 and you can do those insane drive-bys. And just overall, I feel like it could actually use a slight change in price.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with that one.
Nice. Nothing needs a complete overhaul. That's pretty good. All right, sweet. I like that. All right.
If there was an R8, maybe that would be in that category.
We just forget that was ever added. The fact that I remember Valve talking to me about it at an event, and I said that's a terrible idea, and they still did it. Like, I'm not saying that I'm the fucking authority on that, but the fact that the first thing I hear about this is this is the way they explained it. It's like, all right, so you're gonna like prime it, and then as you come around the corner, it'll fire. It's like the only time that has any value is if you are pre-firing, right? Like, and how are you gonna? It's not fucking.
To be honest, like I feel like someone at maybe not at a pro level, but like at a FaZe 10 level, there could be some like insane player that just does that all the time, right? I feel like there could be like someone coming from like a Quake aim tracking style of a game that could maybe use something like that. But in CS, it just feels so dumb, and
it feels out of place, right?
Yeah, and I think the models maybe move too fast and like too like in different directions that it's really hard to use.
The problem is like you're basically just putting yourself at a disadvantage if you do that, because like you already can pre-fire with any weapon you want. Like as long as you get the timing right, you can do perfect peaks like that, right? So why would you just put yourself at a disadvantage just buy a gun where you have to time it differently compared to every other gun in the game? Like that doesn't make any sense.
That and I guess the big old boy machine guns, right? They're the only things that we don't really see getting any use. Otherwise, I know Tech 9 and 5.7 have gone out of fashion a bit, but Valve have done a pretty good job of achieving what they wanted, right? Like the versatility and weapon across almost all of the categories. So, like Valve got what they wanted.
I think the like quote unquote the problem is like once something is believed to be the standard, like everybody will use it, and there's not that much. Then they just don't experiment with it enough. And once somebody does and figures out, okay, this is actually pretty strong, like why is not when nobody using it, everybody switches to it. And so there's no like middle ground. Like it's always going to be either the M4 or the M4A1S being preferred. Like it's always going to be a pretty big disparity, I think, because it's just impossible to balance them perfectly. Like you're always going to have like situations where one or the other is better.
Yeah, that's true. All right, let's pivot to the viewer questions right now. Now, I want to do our questions left over for Valde first before we get stuck into the viewer ones. Does anybody have one on the tip of their tongue? Because if not, I have one, and it's a fucking banger.
Holy shit! I need to get ready, man.
I only have one that I like from the questions from the viewers.
So let me ask this one then, Valde. You guys are playing Dust 2 against Vitality. You took long control. Aleksib was close mid on his own. They were on a. I guess it was like a
OG
force
CT side or T side?
OG with T side. Valde was one of the first guys out long. You guys just chilled around blue bin and long doors. You never peaked all the way to top A. So you had no information who was at A. Aleksib was like just chilling around Xbox, doing Aleksib things. And then there's like 30 seconds left on the clock, and you all rotate out along all the way back to B into an empty site.
Yeah.
What made Aleksib make that call?
Far as I remember it was not like, I think I gotta give some background. So last time we played Vitality on Dust 2, we won the T-side pistol, and then on the force, not on the force, but like when they had the force buy, we took long, exactly like here. And then they essentially like rotated everyone too long and they won the round because we like failed the car molly and like shit went wrong. They had 2 scouts and we basically lost it like almost flawless, I think. So as soon as we took long and we got the feeling that they might do the same thing because they probably remember that last game as well, right? And maybe they assume that we like discussed how we should go long properly this time, but they could still like win it, right? So we just all had. I don't even think it was Aleksib necessarily that made the call. It might have been like all of us combined. But we just had a feeling that they were gonna stack A here because it seemed really obvious. And then we didn't want to make the same mistake again, so we were just like, "Fuck it, let's go B."
So just PTSD.
Okay, so
essentially.
just gut instinct, just fuck it, because
Like-
you guys were running in there with like 10 seconds left.
Yeah, but did we have an entry kill?
No, you had nothing. Or
Nothing.
actually, maybe you had one. I don't remember
I
exactly.
think we might have killed one of the players that we knew was on B side, and then we just assumed they're probably gonna fucking stack A again, and we
Okay.
don't want to lose to the same thing again, so we're gonna go B. I
Okay.
think that was the thought process.
Because they rotated over, like, and I was like, did they make any sound cues? Because
No.
Zyro had a fucking
No,
all.
it was pure guess.
Okay. All
Or
right.
not, yeah, like informed guess or whatever you call it.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So I know I thought that I'm like, because like obviously we can't hear the details and we're not always on this player, so I thought that maybe like there was a massive thing that I missed. But okay,
I'm pretty
thanks
sure
for-
it was 5 versus 4, but I'm not 100% sure.
People in chat are saying that it was a 5v4 that Mantu sniped someone through the smoke mid doors.
Okay.
That Misuta died crossing mid at the beginning. So
Yeah, and he's a B player.
yeah.
Okay.
And then like we know as well, like Vitality on Dust 2, we know they like to use like both Apex and Saiwu are usually buying scouts. And people don't play like when you kill a B player that is not one of the guys who's using the scout, it's not very likely that there is 2 scouts on B or that they're doing a B stack with 2 scouts, right?
Okay.
Because usually like maybe one of the scouts will be backplat on B and he'll be alone. And then the other 3 are like around A or mid, short, whatever.
Yep.
So I'm pretty sure the fact that we knew that they were usually buying 2 scouts on 4 spies and the fact that we killed a B player essentially made us go B.
Okay, good. We've
Lovely.
solved the mystery. All right,
Yes.
Prop, that question you've got
Some
ready.
good shit. Nice.
Lovely insight. There's a question, like, can you compare Aleksib's leading style to previous IGLs? Because you played with quite a few, like, very tactical, well-known MSL, most known, but Snappy as well.
Yeah.
I think he played with Cadian for a short while, but that didn't work out in North, right? So can they be compared? What's the similarities, the difference, like between MSL and Aleksib for starts, right?
In my opinion, I actually think they're very much alike. How they like to call, how they control the team, how they do prep. Obviously, they're different persons, so it's hard to compare them 1-to-1. But I feel like, yeah, how they prepare for the game and how they like to call is somewhat similar. But I feel like it's so hard to compare in-game leaders like this. I feel like you have to play with the persons yourself to actually know how they are. It's very hard to explain how a person is, for me at least. Yeah, so it's a really tough question, but I think they're both very structured, but they also give a lot of freedom and room for input, which I think is super important on a top team. So in that sense, they remind me a lot of each other with like how they run the team, not necessarily how they are as persons, if you know what I mean.
I mean, that is actually when the question was asked, when I saw it, I'm like when you think about it, like MSL style, Aleksib, like you could, it's actually more similar when I thought about it than I would initially think, right?
Yeah.
Just the way they play individually in the team and a lot of input and calls and everything. So cool.
Okay. I got a couple here because I put it up on my Instagram as well to get some questions coming through. One of them is from McHammus, and he wants to know, what do you think stunted flameZ performance? Was there a different vibe or was he off? And obviously it was his first tier 1 grand final, so that context is probably necessary too, because it obviously wasn't the same as the group stage flameZ, right?
Yeah. It's hard to say. I actually didn't speak with him about it, but I can tell you, like, when I placed my first professional game, even if it was online, but like the first LAN game, I remember very clearly, like I was so nervous, right? And just imagine, like, flameZ is 17 and he's playing his first grand final against the best team in the world in a best of 5. And if you get a rough start, it can be a really fucking hard game.
Yeah.
I think he played overall a really solid tournament, and I think he has like so much potential. So I'm actually really surprised by him as a player. And I think the thing that stands out the most with flameZ is his game sense and understanding of the game. Like usually when you have these rookies come into teams, it's like if they're in a clutch, you almost have to, like, you want to tell them what they should do because you can just see they're like sort of clueless, right? But with flameZ, he's fully aware of everything, and he plays like the clutch essentially, like, in my opinion, how every good player would have played it. And that adds a lot of, like, I just think he's like, his baseline, considering the fact that he's only 17, is really, really high, in my opinion. So I think he can only improve from here, and once he gets some more experience, LAN experience as well, I think he can only get better and better.
Yeah, he looks like a bit of a diamond, really, right? Like just from the small amount we've got to see him here, he looks really good, and that's the thing. Like, it's hard for people to quantify, you know, the nerves of being in a final or a playoff game, and it's a whole different vibe, right? That's why we talk about these, you know, these teams being beasts on LAN. It's for a reason, right? They separate themselves time and time again. So I think he's going to bounce back, and I think then if you play Gambit and, you know, he's playing the flames that we know, that's actually a really good fucking series with the map pool that we discussed before. This one here is from Julian Soika. Julian says, time in the gym versus time on training aim. But I guess we could pivot that question into, like, obviously, look at you. You're a man who gives a fuck about his physical appearance. Does that play a big factor in the game for you?
In my honest opinion, not at all.
Okay.
Like, not at all. Like, I don't know how I should say it. Like, if you want to work out a lot, do it. By all means, be my guest. I think it's gonna, like, increase your overall happiness, but I don't think there is a correlation between amount of time spent in the gym and then how good you are inside the game.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, I really feel like that's I don't
A
know.
bit
I feel like that.
overblown, yeah.
Yes, it's a very overblown argument that if you're like in good shape or whatever, you're gonna be better. I really don't feel like it's that. Like, we even had a lot of like fun fucking talking at fucking after parties and stuff. You know, a lot of these players who like fucking lost weight or whatever. It's like usually it's the opposite, right? Like people get worse. Like, we always used to joke about this because, like, the thing is, if you're used to play a lot of CS and then you start spending time doing other things, then that's gonna take away from the time you're playing CS, right? So in my opinion, it's just gonna be super hard doing these arguments like for and against, because I really don't think there is a clear correlation between spending time in the gym and how good you are at CS.
What
At
about
least I don't feel.
what about in terms of energy levels? Does that help?
It's hard for me to say because I've told
He's
this
always
to
been jacked.
my coach as well. Like, no, but for real, I remember like some of my best LAN games I remember like some of my best LAN games came when I didn't eat the whole day. I was feeling sick, and I played like a really fucking good game. Then other times you've been on aimbots for 1 hour, ate perfect breakfast, went to the gym, played like shit. You know what I mean? I really don't feel like there's a correlation between, at least not one-to-one, because it's not a physical sport like football. Like, obviously, you're gonna run faster, you're gonna have a better stamina if you do a lot of running. But in terms of CS, I think it's overblown. Like, it might help you with the last 1% or whatever, but yeah, I kind of agree with Professor that I feel like it's a little bit overblown, to be honest.
Okay, cool. All right, boys. Do we have anything else here for Valde before we close it down?
We're
There's
good.
just one question for our Brazilian fans that were spamming this on the forums for a couple of months. Rumors of Fur joining OG, were they true? Did you explore Fur joining OG?
Oh, he's smiling.
What are these questions, man? I think we didn't explore the option, but like every player, when you make a roster change, goes through your head, right? And yeah, that's all I'm gonna say.
Okay, he was on the he was discussed.
He was on the short list.
Yeah, there you go.
HLTV confirmed.
There it
Excellent.
is. All right. Well, we just lost Striker's webcam, so maybe this is the perfect time to end the show. Valde, normally at the end now, and most people don't have anything to say. So if that's the case, that's cool. But if you want to say anything to the fans, or you want to talk shit to somebody like a player, or do what I do, lose my cool, this is the time to say whatever you want.
I feel like I promised to be a little bit spicy, so yeah, I hope I lived up to the expectations. So just want to give a shout out to all the people who's watching. Maybe I'll see you on here again if you have better questions next time. Who knows? So yeah, thanks for watching, boys.
All right, that's great. It's great having you on. Very, very fun discussion. And yeah, next week we'll be back. I guess Monday. Lucas, can we do next Monday? Lucas
Probably
is fucking sleeping again.
Probably Tuesday. We have
Tuesday?
a potential guest Monday or Tuesday.
Okay.
A returning guest.
A returning guest.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm excited. I don't know who it's going to be. But yeah, once again, thank you to Valde. This was fantastic. Cannot wait to see what OG have in store for the future. And Blast kicking off tomorrow. Make sure you guys tune in. Enjoy the Counter-Strike action. This has been HLTV Confirmed. And Striker says goodnight. He's gone to deal with the baby.
Peace.
Add some fun to your space with Xtrfy, designed in Sweden with focus on quality products built on experience. You're looking at Project 4, their 4th generation of products with super cool colorways to stand out, with matching sets to satisfy with a solid B4 bungee, lightweight ergonomic M4 mouse, the K4 keyboard is fantastic, all of which are performance focused, and finish it off with colorful GP4 mouse mats that are bold in design and smooth on the surface. The retro theme in particular has got the feels. Complete your setup with Xtrfy. No regrets, guaranteed.
Fist bumps go to the teammates.
I wanna see you rolling fast. Win the round. Win the game.
Parry Match, your esports teammate.